People's Choice Award-winning actor, is a television icon and arguably the most popular character in daytime history, and has starred Victor Newman on the #1 rated daytime drama series, The Young and the Restless. He's been on that for over 46 years. But today we are also celebrating him as part of the groundbreaking soccer team in Los Angeles. So Eric, please come forward. Welcome.
I would like to recognize, first of all, Elie Mamour, who was left fullback in our team, and Moshe Hoffman, sweeper, Abraham Cohen, Pini Ben-Zaken. They were all my teammates. You said something anti-Semitic to Elie Mamour, he would stand up to you immediately. I learned from that experience to stand up to whatever prejudice encounters you. Intelligence, genius is not only the purview of one group. It is universal. We just need to give people a chance. Anyway, I'm here in LA. I love this city. Been here for over 60 years. And let's straighten out the potholes. Thank you very much.
To be honored in front of the council with such nice words that was said by everybody after we accepted our awards just makes you feel super special. I'm very proud. I'm from Los Angeles, was born and raised out here. Went away for a while for the last 12 years, but we recently came back and it feels like we came home. So I'm very happy to be here today.
Thank you so much. It really is my honor to be here this morning. Good morning to everybody. My Jewish life and my gymnastics life actually started as a young boy in Van Nuys, California. I went to Stephen S. Weiss Temple. My mom and dad were actually founding members of the congregation, and I spent many years there learning about the Jewish heritage and what it meant to be Jewish. And I started my training at LA Valley College on trampoline, of all events, where I learned that the love of flying was just what I was meant to do in life. I loved the feeling of flipping and twisting in the air, and that eventually morphed into the coaches wanting me to try this incredible sport of gymnastics.
Mitch Gaylord talked about the 1984 Olympics, where he had just come off a national championship in gymnastics with UCLA, and 4 months later he was winning a gold medal and scored the first perfect 10 ever in gymnastics history right here at the LA Games in 1984. A great moment of pride for UCLA fans, for the LA community, and for the Jewish community as well.
Our next honoree is Chelsea Goldberg, a SoCal native who started playing roller hockey at a young age and eventually took her passion to the ice, where she got recruited to play at Northeastern University. Along the way, she broke both legs, which hurt her chances to make the U.S. Olympic team. Nonetheless, she was drafted by the Boston Blades of the Canadian Women's Hockey League.
One of the things I'm most grateful for is being able to combine two parts of my identity that means so much to me, hockey and Judaism. I truly love the intersection of faith and sport and the way both can bring people together, inspire resilience, and build community.
It's really important for the city to recognize, the Jewish population, the Jewish people, just because, one, it is a very highly populated Jewish city, Los Angeles, but also there's not that many of us around the world, and the Jewish population itself is so close, and when you're part of the Jewish family, we are a family, and so to recognize us and have everyone here to us recognize us and the history behind us, I think is very powerful.
It's really a great occasion to kind of come together and celebrate, especially at a time when, to be frank, you look at the numbers and you look at the stories that people are telling us in schools and in so many other places about the bias that they're experiencing, the anti-Semitism they're experiencing. And it's good to have a time to come together and to also celebrate and to be proud.
I'm at a loss for words today because I didn't expect to feel the way I felt when we were standing up there, hearing the guys from the soccer team, the famous actor that he came from Germany. Them represented not only his sport, soccer, but his heritage. And it really is a message of coming together for one another.
Today is our Salute to Recreation event. This has been going on for 44 years. This is our opportunity to really highlight some of the programs that we offer year-round through the Rec and Parks program, and it's our sort of celebration to celebrate all those.
We have carnival rides, we have a lot of vendors, amazing food, amazing performances, a lot of organizations giving out information, and a lot of competition for our youth and adults.
They have dancers, they have food, they have giveaways.
We do so many great programs, whether they be sports programs, summer camps, aquatics, and it's just our chance to bring out the dance crews, bring out all the different programs, and have their parents see what they've been working on.
These types of events are really to bring community together.
It's important for people to know that they can get together in love and civility. I think it's something that's missing a little bit in our society today.
Having community in Los Angeles, it's really hard. Being in places like this that can bring everybody together, it's always something to celebrate. Los Angeles needs to spend more time together.
These are the things that bring really community together, but we have all different types of opportunities across the parks.
That's a look at some of the stories and people making a difference across Los Angeles. Thanks for watching. Catch these stories and more on Channel 35 or at lacity.gov/TV, and follow at LACity on Instagram, Facebook, X, and YouTube.
welcome everybody to a special meeting of the Rules Committee. Madam Clerk, let's begin our proceedings by calling the roll.
Yes, good afternoon, Commissioners, Council members. Councilmember Harris Dawson.
Present.
Councilmember Rahman. Here. Councilmember Yaroslavsky is not here. Councilmember Soto Martinez.
Here.
Councilmember Lee.
Present.
4 members present. We have a quorum.
All right. Thank you to the members of this committee and staff who are here today. Is our final day of deliberation on charter reform and what will go to the full council for discussion and eventual inclusion on the November 2026 ballot. Today we expect that we'll be resume our discussion on rec and parks, budget recommendations, some police and fire recommendations that we continue to today, personnel recommendations, which will include input from the Black Workers Center. Signature requirements for petitions was also left over, as well as a number of motions on, a motion on today's agenda around resident voting in city and school board elections. We'll begin this meeting as we do all meetings with public comment. We're going to limit public comment to 30 minutes. So, Mr. City Attorney, if you can read the rules into the record.
Yes, it's very simple. You have up to 2 minutes to speak. This is a special meeting, so there's no general public comment, just on the items. When your name is called, please move to your left and come up. The sergeants will direct you to the podium, and then exit when you're done speaking to your right. If you've made an ADA request or want to make one now and you need a handheld microphone when your name's called, please notify the sergeant so that we can bring you the wireless mic. It doesn't matter what order you speak, but please don't come up until your name is called. And if I can have this read out by the interpreters in Spanish, if you want translation, please stop every couple of sentences so that we can translate. We will hold your time during the translation so everybody gets the same amount of time to speak.
Para las personas quienes necesitan traducción, por favor, pausen después de cada frase para darle al traductor la oportunidad a traducir. No se preocupen, les pausaremos el tiempo mientras el intérprete está hablando, entonces van a recibir la misma cantidad de tiempo que las otras personas. Gracias.
Thank you. With that, we're ready to call some names for public comment.
I'll begin public comment by calling up a few names. Steve Koffroth, James O., Joan E., Nicholas Caputo, and Jill Benchoa.
And when you come to the podium, if you want to give your name, please do. Otherwise, just begin.
I put James O. in there. So this is all just a kind of a bit of a mess, and we're kind of seeing how much, what I pretty much predicted would happen is that you'd promise all these reforms and everything, and then we get to the final vote and find that it's all gutted. It's all, screwed up because you don't actually want any reform. You don't want any change here. You're perfectly content with how things are currently, so now you're trying to gut things, shove them all to more discussion and studies. A lot of these stuff has been studied for decades, and you're now saying they need more studying. It's not because you think they need more studying to see for feasibility, it's you don't want them, so you're just trying to delay them and doom them to continuous study hell so that you don't have they have no chance of ever making it to the ballot. It's what I thought was maybe needing to happen in the first place is clearly coming more likely that the public is probably going to have to just do this independently of you because you're clearly not willing to actually put this stuff to the ballot and such. And we see it again with, you got police reform on here, accountability reform. The LAPD is absolutely out of control. You won't even use the minimal powers you do have, like firing the police chief. And the police commission is a joke. It doesn't matter who's on the commission. They're just an extension of the council and the mayor. They're just rubber stamping absolutely everything. They're slow walking your own policy you told them to implement, which was the pretextual stops one. They refused to implement a formal sanctuary policy for LAPD. They've refused to do anything to hold them accountable. And now you want to postpone even more accountability reform for more studies. What a mess.
Hello, members of the committee. My name is Steve Koffroth. I am the chair of the LA City Coalition of Unions. We represent the majority of the civil service employees that are under consideration for the changes that have been made with the personnel changes before you today. I want to make sure to give you an update. Last we spoke to you, we had not even been able to make our counter offer to the city's proposal. We did make that counter offer, and the next response from the city was a last, best, and final offer. I just can't emphasize enough how that is not a good faith operation in terms of how bargaining works. As a result, we filed an unfair practice charge on Friday. Notwithstanding, we did make a counteroffer and had additional meetings with the city, but still were unable to reach any agreement. I want to make sure that we emphasize that that is seen by our members as an attempt to ram through unwelcome changes to the charter on behalf of our members, and we will have no other choice except to oppose those. It's uncertain exactly what the committee is to do today because the CLA recommends that these both be postponed for further study. We believe they certainly are not ripe for action at today's meeting, but yet you have this item before you. So we pray that you will not move any of those changes forward and that we're able to continue discussions and perhaps bring them back at a later date. Thank you.
Thank you for that comment. I just want to interject because I know a lot of people are here on it. This committee asked to hear from the leader of personnel because today is our last day. If we don't consider today, it means we're not doing it. So it doesn't mean we'll move forward, but I just want everybody to understand it's not as if we had the choice to say next week or 2 weeks from now or 3 weeks from now. We're at the date. And so we'll look at we'll look at, the council will do what makes sense, and the rest, like many topics that came out of the Charter Reform Commission, we'll be looking at those, at a later date. So I just want to make sure everybody knows that as we go forward. And I won't count that against the 30 minutes of public comment time. Thank you.
Before the next speaker begins, I'd like to call up a few more names. Ian Thesevos, Shahriar Gudsafar, Lydia Catalan, Rob Baird, and Nancy Friedman.
Good afternoon, council members. I'm Jill Bengochea. I'm a resident of Glassell Park and a director at HRNA Advisors, a national economic planning and policy consulting firm founded here in Los Angeles. I was part of the team led by Olin that prepared the park needs assessment. Our work focused on understanding RAP's operating budget and needs. Today, I want to share with you the approach that estimated the operating budget need at $525 to $625 million, not including capital. Specifically, we analyzed expenses and revenue that make up RAP's operating budget today. We benchmarked the budget against peer city park systems, and we used our findings from these to size the budget needed for sufficient resources to operate and maintain the park system at a sustainable level. I work nationally on park system plans and projects like this with partners who have decades in their area. In this work, I conduct rigorous data analysis, but I also meet with civic leaders, community members, and the economic development and real estate sector to understand how they value parks. From these, I know that the cities that you see outpacing Los Angeles in job creation and population growth are cities that are investing in their parks at greater rates. On our process to estimate the budget need, our benchmarking analysis against peer cities led us to analyze the need for increased staffing levels in order to really meet RAP's needs. To estimate the scale of the increase in personnel, we combined 3 different methods. First, increasing the capacity and level of service by 150% as a general approach to the minimum amount of increase we felt was needed. Second, we looked at the cost to return staffing levels back to pre-recession levels of 2008, which was a peak. And finally, and most importantly, if we want to talk about Los Angeles's economic growth and fiscal health, we looked at how much staffing levels should increase in order to compete, so to speak, with the peer park systems. We applied a rate of 20% to expenses commensurate with RAP's budget over the last 10 years. As a result, we estimate the park system requires $525 to $625 million.
Good afternoon, council members, and it's a pleasure to speak to you. I've spoken at every single Charter Reform Commission meeting throughout the past year and had the great fortune of being at every single Rules Committee meeting here. And throughout those times, there are 4 big issues that come up. They are safety, kitchen table issues, funding, and trust. And the most elusive of them is trust, which is the whole reason the Charter Reform Commission was started and the whole reason we continue talking about these things. There are many ways to increase funding in the city, increasing taxes, diverting funding from existing sources, but there's no clear way to get more trust. But before you now are some of the very ways and cleanest methods you could do that, some of the lowest hanging fruit. We've talked about council expansion, and worries have come up about the expansion of the power of the mayor. But no one's job description is changing. But the one thing you'll get is the one thing that money can't buy, an increased belief that the people elected to this body are actually representing and understanding the local communities in which they serve. That goes farther than any dollar ever could. And furthermore, the opportunity to have personnel and hiring reform, directly talking about here, allows more people to be hired more swiftly into the city of Los Angeles. It's much easier to gain trust in a system when that system is supporting you personally. You get to know the people that are your coworkers, that it's not just this amorphous thing that lives somewhere in the city that affects you, but it's something that actually gets involved with in your daily life. Making LA a place where you can get hired and find a career and a life just as easy as you could in any of the businesses that call this place home is a place that we can not just grow our city more and deliver services faster, such as repairing the 26% staffing reduction we've done in the past 4 years for streets and sanitation, but we can make this place inspire more ability and confidence into the people that call it home. I know that we have differences in beliefs of what is possible on this side versus that side, but in this case, I implore you to take bigger swings. You will get things that money just can't buy. Thank you.
How you doing, everyone? Give me 1 second. All right, hello, everyone. My name is Johan Espinoza, coming from the northwest San Fernando Valley. I'm actually in Councilmember Lee's district. How are you, Councilmember? So, been here a couple times, been engaged with the Charter Reform Commission since last year, and I'm an advocate for ranked choice voting, council expansion, many other issues, and I just wanted to express respectfully my disappointment with how this whole process has been done. You know, I'm a big believer in civic engagement. You know, I've brought young students here, college students who give their public input, be engaged, and it just feels like, what's the point, right? You know, council expansion has been punted down after years of consideration. The Charter Reform Commission invited experts to talk about ranked choice voting and its different variations. We've spoken to the staff, y'all staff, for those of you that have been able to meet with us, and it just feels like there was no genuine conversation about it. So please, I hope that y'all have this conversation at this ad hoc committee that's going to get punted over. The questions that were raised in the May 21st meeting, we've submitted a memo answering most, if not all, those questions for y'all. So please support that. And then one other thing. I'm also here now to leave it on a better note, on a positive note. I'm supportive of a lot of considerations that the Los Angeles Black Workers Center has been pushed forward. They've been doing a great job advocating for black workers here in the city. So please support what they're doing. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Ianthe Zivos. I live and work in CD13. I'm here today to advocate for parks. LA parks and the folks who run them are so essential to the health and well-being of our city. They're the green lungs of our city, the place where kids play sports, where couples get married, families have reunions, and so many other things that are just too long to list in a 2-minute public comment. We as a city have to support them in their critical function. The funding allocation for parks needs to be doubled, and the timeline needs to be now. Are we going to wait until we're 100th out of 100 places on the parks assessment? Please put this on the 2026 ballot for voters to decide. I also wanted to add, particularly for folks who've just gone through the primary election and have been reelected, congratulations to you, but we are in a moment, as you know, of great voter distrust. In this moment, voters need you to be bold, to hold to your commitments, and make the necessary reforms in this city charter process. The public's invested you with its trust, and we're hoping that you don't let us down. Thank you.
Before the next speaker begins, I'd like to call up a few more names: Andrew G., Tori Kajer, Robert Nickel, and Justy S.
Good afternoon, council members. I'm Rob Baird with Prevention Institute. We have a life expectancy gap between white neighborhoods and black neighborhoods in this city that's at 16 years by most estimates. Parks are a reason, park access and quality is a reason that gap is as wide as it is, and it's also a reason why it's not even wider. We cannot force our park system off a financial cliff in a moment like this, when it's already woefully underfunded compared to other peer cities. Our park need assessment in 2025 already tells us what the funding need is to truly reinvest in our park system as essential, critical open space and social infrastructure. So doubling the charter funding amount for parks is essential. It's an essential step to doing this because it makes this funding consistent, reliable, and insulated from political whims. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Nancy Friedman, and I'm the president of the Brentwood Barrington Park. I'm learning that Park and Recs is easy to take funds from, but not give funds to. And I feel very strongly, having witnessed our park and other parks that are suffering, that this is one of the biggest needs that our entire community within Los Angeles border needs. People are having a hard time emotionally struggling, not necessarily just because of Los Angeles, but the world and what goes on. And there is nothing on the agenda other than a park that can allow somebody to get some air, get a break, and see what they can do to be a good citizen. Please double the charter allocation to raise Los Angeles from number 93 out of 100 parks in the country. I'm hoping that in the future it'll be one of the top because you will work wisely, and I hope that you will have the strength of character to do your vote, to do the right thing. Thank you very much.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Lidia, soy miembro del colectivo Poder Comunitario.
Good afternoon. My name is Lydia. I'm a member of Collective Community Power.
Soy vendedora ambulante.
I am a street vendor.
Estoy aquí para pedirles que apoyen la moción que introdujo el concejal Hugo Soto Martínez, 26-0638.
I am asking you to approve the motion introduced by Mr. Soto Martinez, 20-0638.
Estoy en proceso de la visa U y esta moción me ayudaría a ejercer mi voto como residente de Los Ángeles.
I am in the process of getting my visa, and this motion would allow me to exercise my right to vote as a resident of Los Angeles.
Yo como vendedora ambulante he contribuido a la economía, perdón. He pagado por años mis impuestos.
Me as a street vendor, I have contributed to the economy. I have paid my contributions and taxes.
Tengo mucha esperanza en su liderazgo. Voten a favor de esta moción.
I have a lot of hope in your leadership. Vote in favor of this motion.
Gracias al concejal Martínez Hugo por pensar en la comunidad latina. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Councilman Hugo Soto Martinez, for thinking about the community. Thank you.
Before the next speaker begins, I'd like to call up a few more names: Elizabeth Greenway, Sandra Morales, Will Flores, and Zenon Oliet Crow.
Good afternoon. My name is Shahriar Gutzifar. I've been a resident for Los Angeles for 12 years now and plan to live here the rest of my life. So I do want to see what we can do to make it better now and for future generations. For the last 6 months, I collected over 15,000 signatures for the ballot initiatives for the next election. So I do have a sense of what the LA City voters want or how they think. The Charter Reform Commission was formed because obviously we need some charter reform. And two improvements I stand strongly behind are expanding city council and implementing ranked choice voting and putting that on the ballot. Regarding needing more studying, haven't we done enough of studying of what currently exists to know that we do need some change? And that being said, ranked choice voting, for example, has had over 800 elections in the last 22 years with over 35 million ballots cast using ranked choice voting. So the data is there, not to mention that's just the US. It's a very simple concept that we've been doing since Scantrons and tests since elementary school, and there's lots of data on fairvote.org, a national organization with research. You have heard over and over from proponents for ranked choice voting, so I am asking you to do what you were elected to do and allow the voters to decide what they want and represent the will of the people. And I'm sure that you guys have thought about ways that we can always improve getting more people out there to vote during your process campaigning and things like this as well, like making voting day a national holiday. And now I live in Katie Yaroslavsky's district. I'm right on the border of Culver City. And when I was thinking about Culver City, Santa Monica, West Hollywood, and Beverly Hills versus the city of Los Angeles, I thought these are the reason why one time I was campaigning or getting ballot signatures in West Hollywood, and they said, we don't know if you could be here. Why don't you just go over to City Hall and ask them? I was like, go in and just walk into City Hall and ask them, like, yeah, you can do that. So I was like, well, that could happen elsewhere. And it would happen since we haven't had an increase in charter reform council size since 1925, 100 years ago. So thanks for the recommendations, and appreciate your hard work. Thanks.
Hello, my name is Robert Nickel. I'm a citizen who lives in West LA. Council members, as I stand before you today, the Democratic Party holds a net national favorability of negative 18%. Over half of all Americans disapprove of the party. And why do you think that is? I'll tell you why. It's because Democrats, even when given all the power they need, refuse to act. Americans do not care about parliamentary protocols, they care about results. No one believes this line, further research needed. We know that ranked choice voting, council expansion, and so many more amazing reforms were handed to you. If you do not move these items forward in the eyes of the people, you are killing these reforms. Save the reputation of our city, save your own reputation, save the reputation of your party. Do not delay, act now. Help us move Los Angeles into the future. We do not want excuses, we want change, and we want that change now. In front of you are two paths. One, where your legacy is one of leadership, where you give Los Angeles some of its most meaningful and impactful reforms in decades, if not over a century. On the other path, you are a villain who stands against the will of the people. The choice is yours.
Hi, my name is Justy Sexton, and I'm here to speak my support for passing police reforms 54 and 58 forward, as well as the resident voting motion. Because the Los Angeles Charter reads, Section 249, the enacting clause of all ordinances should be as follows: the people of the city of Los Angeles do ordain. It says people, not citizens. The people who live their lives here deserve to have representations in decisions of the city. Except the people, and by extension you are as elected officials, currently can't ordain a thing when it comes to the cops. The people commonly believe Reform 54 and 58 are effectively true. Your constituents are routinely blaming you for not doing anything because they don't know you can't. We don't need a further study on whether or not the people should have a democratic voice in how our city, including our most expensive department, is run. If you want studies on how much the harm the police are causing, they put their own out every month. This year so far has included stalking, sexual coercion, not informing supervisors of restraining orders, and violating those same restraining orders. Oh, and all of those conclude in recommended penalties since the police chief can't fire them anyway. For the record, Reform 56 isn't a compromise. It's not 54 light. It still puts all the power with the Board of the Police Commissioners. If they never choose to begin a course of action, for example, following up your unanimous vote on pretextual stops, there's nothing for the council to veto, and we're in the same position we are now. Rejecting these reforms right now protects nothing except inaction, preserves nothing except for the lack of representation and harm already being enacted. Rejecting these reforms just policy blocks the chance for the people of the city of Los Angeles to be represented in the decisions about who we are and who we want to be. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Tori Chair. I'm Executive Director of the LA Neighborhood Land Trust. I'm here to urge this committee to move the charter funding measure forward to the full council and to commit to doubling Rec and Park's minimum allocation. The proposed $175 million increase that was discussed on Friday is not sufficient. This amount, LA spends $92 per person on parks, while peer cities average $283. $175 million does not close that gap. It continues the underfunding that has plagued this department for decades and locks in inadequate number of funding through the charter. Locking in that number through the charter makes it much harder to fix later. The Charter Reform Commission already voted to double the allocation. That recommendation must be honored. Rec and Parks has lost 28% of its full-time workforce since 2008. Recreation centers and senior centers are already cutting hours and are closed on Sundays. Without real funding, those cuts deepen. This is a citywide issue. It belongs before the full council, and voters deserve a chance to weigh in. 8 in 10 Angelinos already support increased park funding. Please move this forward, double the allocation. Our parks cannot afford anything else. And I also want to make a comment that advocates have been working for 2 years to put a park measure on the ballot. That measure was sunk by this council and city leadership, and there is not a path forward for a park measure at this time. Thank you.
Before the next speaker begins, I'd like to call up a few more names. Clifford Pinkerton, Cynthia Hubach, and Carmen Adorno.
Greetings. My name is William Giovanni Flores Diaz. I go by Will Flo. I'm here to support parks. The funding for RAP must be doubled, and this must go through the charter. There has been broad support for this, and there's a great need for this moving forward. I'm a resident of CD1 currently, but I was born and raised in South Central. Part of the Parma Lee Elementary School in Florence Firestone, as well as Charles Drew Middle School, and I also went to Jordan and Watts. I graduated with an AA in community development and community planning and economic development from LA Trade Tech. And I just want to say, is it too much to ask to just learn from the past when the air that we breathe is like a poisonous gas? I wish you could see through the soul of a tree and know that the key is within you and me, because there's nothing but dirt and just broken cement covering the earth that we need to protect. For what goes around, well, you know the rest. No wonder our mother is getting so stressed. But the war is not over. Let the battle begin. With our powers combined, I know we can win. We're all like a seed that we're placed on this earth with a God-given talent we were given at birth. But talk can be cheap, so let it be done. And better the future till the battle is won. And if ever you feel like you're getting off course, only remember, the power is yours. With that said, we need more parks, we need more trees, we need more greenery. Please help our community. Thank you. Will Flo.
Good afternoon. I'm Elizabeth Greenway, Executive Director of Griffith Observatory Foundation. I'm here to advocate for the proposed charter amendment that will reaffirm the city's 90-year commitment to Griffith Observatory, our home in Griffith Park, and for equitable access to the full range of park facilities and programs that our vibrant communities need. Griffith Observatory Foundation is the exclusive nonprofit partner of Griffith Observatory, which has been owned and operated by the City of Los Angeles since 1935. The observatory has anchored Griffith Park as a crown jewel of the Recreation and Parks Department for 9 decades. Griffith Park is the Yosemite of Los Angeles. It is our Grand Canyon. Griffith Park and the observatory have suffered the same funding cuts as other areas of the Parks Department for the past 20 years, resulting in critically insufficient staff and services. Correcting this downward trend will restore infrastructure that has been chronically underfunded for far too long. As the most visited public observatory on the planet, Griffith Observatory welcomes nearly 30,000 students from all 15 city council districts and 1.5 million visitors from across the galaxy every year. It is one of the most important parts of LA tourism and a critical asset to the film and television industry. Inadequate staffing jeopardizes daily operations, public safety, and park integrity, and therefore jeopardizes the reputations of the observatory and Los Angeles as a whole. As the world turns its eyes on LA for the 2028 Olympics, the city cannot afford to put its iconic facility at further risk. Now is the time to lift instead of diminish. Griffith Observatory Foundation stands with you. We are prepared to do more, but cannot unlock enormous philanthropic growth potential if the observatory's basic needs are not met. There is nothing else like it on Earth, and it cannot be replaced. We respectfully urge you to update the city's founding commitment to the observatory for the 21st century, and the foundation will meet you there under the stars in Griffith Park. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Zenon Alyate Crow, and I'm going to give you the 4 most used words in the LA City Hall dictionary. Refer for further study. It is insane how often we are punching things again and again and again to go collect dust on a bookshelf. And I don't know about you, but I'm tired of things being referred for further study. I'm tired of city council expansion, which has been studied going back as far as the 90s, being referred for further study. I'm tired of ranked choice voting being referred for further study. I'm tired of the LA City Police Chief being given the authority to fire officers that break the law being referred for further study. I'm tired of the city council not having the authority to have jurisdiction of the police department and the police commission being referred to further study. And I think more than anything, that is the problem. I am so appreciative of the people that are stepping up to change this city and to change its constitution because we know it needs to be different. And we cannot wait for further study again and again. And I want to leave and emphasize on this one point. If you guys don't work on these reforms, they will come for you. The citizens can do a ballot initiative. There is momentum and movement to do that. People are fed up with the city of Los Angeles government. So either make the changes now and have us saying it, or let the people decide and do it their own. Thank you.
Before the next speaker begins, I'd like to call up a few more names.
Un momento, señora.
I'd like to call up a few more names. Irma Reyes, Sarah Friedman, and Eliana Chinea.
Sí. Estoy aquí para hablar para apoyar a la moción del Consejo 260638.
Hello, I am here to speak in support of the motion 260368.
Estoy en proceso de la visa U. Quiero pedirle a este comité que vote a favor de esta moción.
I am in the process of getting my U visa, and I am asking this committee to vote in favor of this motion.
Tenemos un ejemplo que en San Francisco ya ha pasado esta moción.
It is already passed in San Francisco.
También podemos lograr que aquí en Los Ángeles pase la ley.
And we can assure that it happens in Los Angeles as well.
Y así poder ejercer mi derecho de voto
And
noviembre 2026.
And that way, this November 2026, I can exercise my right to vote.
y así poder salir de la sombra. Confío en su liderazgo.
And therefore I can walk out of the shadows. I have faith in your leadership.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Cindy Hubach. I'm president of the Silver Lake Reservoirs Conservancy, proud resident of CD13 and very close to CD4. We engage with rec and parks all the time, and we are seeing our parks deteriorate before our very eyes, despite the incredible hard work of the rec and parks employees. We engage with them regularly. They are working with missing maintenance supplies. They're trying to install new irrigation. The supplies aren't there. They often pay for supplies out of their own pocket. We see staff changes constantly. People move on, retire. They're not replaced. It is an unsustainable system. Our parks are so essential, and especially as we move into an era of climate change, the shade, the cooling, the need for biodiversity. These are essential services that our parks give to us. Instead of reducing services, we should be hiring urban ecologists, looking at the way that our parks will do more to sustain our city, keep it healthy, and keep it safe. We know that we always seem to have money for police, but that is the end of that's solving the illness, not the causes. And the causes are unhappiness, discomfort, lack of services, and what parks give us are mental health, engagement with other people, community, exposure to nature. These all improve quality of life, reduce crimes, reduce the need for police in our communities. So I encourage you, please, to move this forward. Let the full City Council decide. Let the people of Los Angeles decide. This is essential for our lives. Thank you very much.
Hi there. My name is Clifford Pinkerton, and I appreciate everybody for being here. I want to continue something that I've been doing for the last 4 years, which is advocate on behalf of a common sense voting reform, ranked choice voting. I first heard about it during a John Oliver episode about third parties and how they're so wacky and they don't really make any influence or impact other than just random policy discourse and occasionally a million views, a million votes thrown away on behalf of these smaller candidates. Ever since I lived in Evanston, Illinois, I've wanted to implement ranked choice voting in every single locality that I live in. I knocked on doors in Evanston, and we were able to get 82% of the local population voting in favor of ranked choice voting, but Cook County prevented it. They said it was against the state law. Meanwhile, 2 localities have since implemented ranked choice voting. We have a choice in front of us, and we have a lot of problems. Are we going to continue to be complacent and stand on our high horse of partisanship as it gets more violent and it escalates? Or are we going to take a stand for something that matters, something that makes sense, something that I explain to kids at farmers markets, something that I make elections using a software with to vote favorite pizza flavor or ice cream? It's been implemented in so many localities across the country, and it's being banned because partisans don't want common sense reform that will have any meaningful change to their status quo. What we want is addressing our real problems. How can we communicate our true preference as voters without a ballot like this? How can we run for office on our own basis if we have to appeal to those partisans? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sarah Friedman, and I'm here with the Trust for Public Land and as a resident of Council District 4. I'm here, as many others are, to support doubling Rec and Parks allocation via charter to continue our city's basic services in that regard. I also wanted to raise one issue, which was on the meeting on Friday. This council instructed the CAO to analyze kind of phasing in an increase of $175 million over 4 years via charter reform. Trust for Public Land, as we continue to say, we do not believe this number is sufficient. We would look to the city's own needs assessment. However, I did just see a copy of the CEO report and was very concerned to see it actually didn't even analyze doing that via charter reform despite these instructions. And I just want to reiterate that charter reform is the only way to protect this funding. It's been in our charter since 1937. I also wanted to add that as written, the fiscal emergency funding for rec and parks would allow that funding to be clawed back in a time of fiscal emergency. The existing charter allocation, the combination of these two mean there's no increase to the charter allocation, but in a time of fiscal emergency, RAP could lose 30% of its already meager taken away funding over the years, which I also don't think was the original instruction or intent. So I just wanted to raise both those issues. I think all of us today want to work really creatively to find a solution to fund our parks. Every person in this room wants to do that, and I'm concerned that this process seems to be moving us further away from us rather than forward. Thank you.
Sí, muy buenas tardes. Yo me llamo Irma Reyes, soy vendedora ambulante. Estoy aquí para pedirles que apoyen a la moción 260638.
Yes, hello, my name is Guillermo Reyes. I'm a street vendor. I'm here to ask that you support the motion 26-0638.
Soy vendedora ambulante y beneficiaria de TPS. Yo por años he contribuido a la economía. Esta misión me da mucha esperanza, ya que sería elegible para poder votar y ejercer mis derechos.
Yes, I am a street vendor, and I'm also a beneficiary of TPS. I contribute to the local economy, and I have lots of hope that I will be eligible to be able to exercise my right to vote.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Eliana Chinea. I'm a political content creator and a journalist, and I'm here to advocate for democracy by fighting fascism and to also express my deep disappointment with how this process has been handled. I support ranked choice voting, and so do a lot of the voters that I speak to. As of April 2025, ranked choice is used for local elections in 47 US cities. Ranked choice is one of the fastest growing nonpartisan reforms in the country. We're currently experiencing fascists and billionaires meddling with trust in our elections, and we need to make our election system stronger by switching to ranked choice. It is voting that ensures that all parties receive their due share of representation and that voters are no longer forced to vote for the lesser of two evils, something that we saw during the recent primaries where only 40% of the electorate ended up voting because they were completely disillusioned with the top establishment choices that they were provided. In LA, voters told me that they felt they had to vote strategically rather than for the candidate that they actually wanted. This is not a democratic process, and it forces voters to become completely frustrated with the entire system. I speak to voters on a daily basis, and they tell me that they don't feel that their vote really counts. So you don't need to investigate anymore. The choice is obviously clear. Vote yes on ranked choice and send it to City Council. Thank you.
Council President, the time for public comment has elapsed.
All right, thank you so much to everybody who came to give testimony on this afternoon. If you'll stop disrupting the meeting, I won't have to give you a warning. You are granted such a warning, Mr. Akili. That's your first warning. All right. The first issue that we have to take up is Rec and Parks to continue our discussion from Friday. So we had an analysis. I'll ask the Chief legislative analyst and the CAO to come forward.
Okay, so would the woman in the white top please stop shouting from the audience? You've been warned. And the woman with the mask on. I would remind everyone, Mr. President, we took hours and hours of testimony before on this, right? It's not as if the public has not had an opportunity.
Literally dozens of hours of public comment just as recently as Friday. I'll ask the CLA and the CLA to come forward. So we're considering CRC number 4. We're going to people aren't coming forward to speak or what? No, we didn't call time. Yeah, no, we're ready to discuss item 4. To call the CAO and the CLA like I've done 3 times now. I would rather not, but. All right, I'm going to ask the CLA and the CAO one more time to come forward.
Actually, none of them.
All right. So on Friday, we began a discussion about rec and parks. Got it. Thank you. All right. We're sitting here quiet because we're disrupting the meeting. You've now talked longer than you would have talked if you had gotten public comment. And I've actually been silent the entire time you've been talking. You have, a lot of times. You have indeed disrupted the meeting. I'm glad you acknowledge that. You are speaking now. You've spoken now for longer than you would have for public comment. Could you hold on? We got a comment from Mr. Soto Martinez, a member of the committee.
Mr. President, I understand there's a lot of folks who feel very passionate about what's going on. I think if we just allow for 10 more minutes for folks to speak, we can get through it, and then
we will. Thank you, Mr. Soto Martinez. You were not here Friday, so you'll get an opportunity to hear from folks. So we'll have 10 more minutes. Folks need to limit themselves to 1 minute each, so we can get through as many speakers as possible. And we'll ask folks just to line up on the aisle to my right. And we will stop at 1:11 or 2:11 now.
I'm glad you decided to do the right thing. Ranked choice voting, we don't want to pick between the lesser of two evils because the common denominator is that they're still fucking evil. Most of you take money from LAPPL and ALADs, and you're scared of being held accountable, but that's the point. Change the rules so that there's actually ballot access by third-party candidates. Deals don't get to be cut to give a district over to an individual. We, the people, get to decide. Fund parks, and of course, we want and demand police reform in the name of Keith Porter, Elias Real. 1,200 people a year are killed by the police. There was a 62% increase in police shootings over the last year under Jim McDonnell. We want you to be able to actually get rid of Jim McDonnell yourself. Council needs to be able to hold control over the LAPD when the chief of police and the police commissioners are not elected by the people. We already had to get rid of Beck, we already had to get rid of Moore, and we're getting McDonnell out too, but we would like you to be able to do that directly yourselves. People need to be protected over the police, and we know that LAPD is absolutely running rampant in this city.
That's your time. Thank you.
Thank you for extending public comment. My name is Amy Percher. I'm a resident of CD4. Examinations are a barrier and discriminatory. They prevent the people who have struggled the most to help make the city better. These are the people you want working for the city because they deeply understand where the issues are. The personnel department allows the creation of a list of candidates who don't need a score. This is going to, in areas where applicants are few and barriers to entry is high. This means it will primarily apply to male-dominated fields, or more specifically, white men. So this exemption isn't going to help the community who needs it the most. I'm disappointed that something's going to get through. The signatures, having a council candidate get as many signatures for that they need as mayor doesn't make sense. The mayor has 15 times as many people to get people to sign, but raising it to 400 is high enough that we won't end up with.
Thank you. Thank you. Your time has expired.
Council members, Jason Greenwald, Friends of Griffith Park. I want to thank you for deciding on Friday to move the parks funding measure forward via charter reform. That is the only viable path, and I am extremely grateful that you made that decision. As you move this to full council, I would simply ask you to consider the amount of that funding and the reason for that funding. The park needs assessment establishes a doubling of RAP's baseline budget as the necessary amount to give our kids, our grandkids, and future generations what they deserve. Naysayers may say we can't afford it. I say we can't afford not to do it. Thank you, and please do the right thing.
Good afternoon, council members. I'm Ross Weisstrasser, member of the Fair Rep LA Coalition and Council District 13 resident. And on Friday, we heard fiscal impact studies are what's necessary for charter reform to progress. So let's do that study right now by reviewing what the Charter Reform Commission proposed for lowering the voting age. Quote, council may, by ordinance, authorize persons age 16 and above to vote in elections. There's no fiscal impact to giving council the power to pass an ordinance at a future date if it wants. This reform, as worded, would allow for more study, more research, while ensuring the charter isn't a barrier to improving our city's elections. And in Lacey v. San Francisco, the courts ruled Californian charter cities are legally allowed to lower the voting age for school board elections. City Hall must be a good steward to LAUSD and give council the power to support our young people's right to have a say in their future. Thank you.
Good afternoon, council members. Carolina Goodman, League of Women Voters of Greater Los Angeles. I'm here to remind you that it was the Fed tape scandal in 2022 that prompted City Council to establish the Ad Hoc Committee on Governance Reform and then the Charter Reform Commission. The priority has always been to ensure that city government is responsive to the needs of the people of Los Angeles. Repeating what several speakers already raised today, your decisions build trust with Angelenos, or they feed fears that you do not represent their values. We do not need further studies on council expansion, or how to strengthen the Ethics Commission, or how to establish police accountability. These critical reforms have been ignored for too long. It's time for you to be bold. It's past time to address these needs. Not now, not later. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Rules Committee. My name is Sakai Koyama, co-president of the Friends of Elysian Park, president of the Echo Park Advisory Board, and serve on the Lotus Festival Planning Committee. You know where I'd rather be right now than City Hall? In one of our beautiful 500 city parks. Here are some fun facts. Of the 100 largest cities, Los Angeles, with a population of 3.86 million, in 2012, we were 25th. New York, with 8.4 million, was third. In 2020, we dropped to 50. New York dropped to 11. In 2026, just recently, we dropped to 93rd. New York is at 20. Pretty soon, we're going to be off the charts, and not in a good kind of way. We need to pass the city charter reform intact. We don't want a delay. We don't want it dissected. We don't want it ripped apart. You did it for the libraries in 2016. We need it for the parks to make sure there is equitable investment in our communities, green spaces, in park poor Los Angeles.
Good afternoon, council members. Marlene Fonseca, EAA Union, on behalf of 6,000 city employees impacted by personnel department's proposed charter amendments. Without discussing the negotiations, I'll address the process. These proposals involve significant changes to the city's civil service system, provisions that have remained in place for 100 years and will affect city employees for decades to come. Yet the unions were not provided these proposals until mid-March. Since then, for EAA, we've only had 3 meetings. The question today is not whether these proposals should advance, it's whether 3 meetings is enough to intelligently research and negotiate changes of this magnitude. We routinely spend 6 or 7 months negotiating our 3-year contracts, yet we're now being asked to accept 3 meetings is sufficient for changes that may remain for generations. The rush is entirely self-created for these personnel proposals. A century-old system, civil service system, should not be rewritten on an accelerated timeline because personnel procrastinated. We urge you not to advance these proposals.
Hi. Please pass the charter. Everybody, the people have been clear. We know the people who have shown up for the last year and taken part. Everybody shows up and they tell you exactly what this city needs. The people that you represent, supposedly represent, they tell you exactly what they need to stay safe, what keeps them safe, what keeps their families healthy, in jobs, all of it. All of that has gone into the charter, the Constitution of LA. We are telling you what we need. And this is not a little thing. This is a big moment in American history. We need protection now, and either you are going to choose to protect the people or you're going to align yourself with the White House. Because right now, I have seen in the last year, this is a microcosm of what is happening on a national scale. The people have been very clear about what we need and what you can do to protect us. And all I see is everybody in this city hall kick the can down the road for anything that people ask that will help. And anything that will hurt them, you guys pass. Please.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, members. My name is Rick Montoya. I'm a police service representative here at the City of Los Angeles. I'm here with AFSCME, representing thousands of city workers that all make the City of LA happen. I'm deeply saddened by the fact that many of the concerns of my fellow city workers have not been properly addressed in regards to charter reform. I ask that each of you as a body negotiate in good faith and give our concerns due attention. We make this city happen and we deserve to be part of the conversation and to be heard. Thank you for your time.
In a minute, I want to thank Sheila for fighting for us, but the fact that we got to fight for 10 minutes is an indication that you don't put the people first, that you want to change the charter without our voice. You want to study before you act. I have testified for at least 4 charter committees. We spent time, we studied, we held hearings, Now it's your turn to do the simple things, is to say, take what the common sense of the people are putting forward and do something about it. If you want to say to me, I don't want to do anything at all, don't ask me, then study it. But if you really want to do something about it, then at least take the recommendations that have been, the common sense recommendations that have been put forward, and act on them right away. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Kwan, you'll close our public comment today.
Want to just call bullshit on some of the fake support offered by council expansion. I don't think anybody other than Councilmember Rahman actually does support the issue. And if you actually cared about those values, you wouldn't have rejected lowering the signature threshold to get on the ballot. It doesn't make any sense that it's harder for a city council somebody to get on the ballot for city council than for mayor. That a mayoral candidate has 2 million extra people to turn to. I hope everybody appreciates how Karen Bass has screwed over labor throughout this entire meet and confer personnel bullshit process. Lastly, this council wants to strike from the charter their requirement that they meet 3 times a week. They don't want to have anything in there on that. So keep that in mind in this climate. I don't know if any of you watch Game of Thrones, but no matter who they're looking at, some little young person coming up, there's an elder telling them, you got to listen to the people. Even kings and queens got to listen to public comment. And I don't think I'm looking at it here.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kwan. All right. And thank you, Mr. Soto Martinez, for asking for more time. And it looks like everybody who wanted to speak got to speak now. All right, so we'll ask, we're back to Rec and Parks item. That is Commission Recommendation number 4. We left off on Friday needing more data and more projections about the proposal that was put forward around percentage tied to a specific amount to start, and a ramp to get us up to what the commission recommended over time. So I'll ask the CAO CLA to come to the table and help us resume this discussion. And I will yield to Councilmember Yaroslavsky to kick us off.
Thank you, Council President. So, colleagues, on Friday we discussed increasing the allocation for parks to 0.0485% with a 4-year ramp up. That percentage that we discussed and clarified multiple times, which I guess wasn't clear enough, was not directly addressed in the CAO report. So colleagues, I'm going to recommend that we amend the CAO report and move forward with the language discussed on Friday, amended and restated now. And this should generally mirror Section 531, which is financial support under the Library Department section of the Charter, with the following differences. Number 1, increase the RAP budget allocation to 0.0485%. Phase this increase in over 4 years. Allow suspension of up to 30% of charter mandated funds if the city declares a fiscal emergency. And instruct RAP and CAO to coordinate a working group to engage the county in preparation for a possible 2028 ballot measure in order to ensure a fair share of funding for the city in any countywide measure, or by doing our own measure to identify revenue for our park systems and programs. And I want to start by saying what I said on Friday. I understand why the recommendation is here. Our parks definitely need more resources. They absolutely do. I spend a lot of time in my local parks, as I know we all do, and they're wildly inadequately staffed, maintained, and taken care of. On Friday, I raised real concerns about doubling the charter mandated appropriation without identifying a new revenue stream. And those concerns aren't theoretical. The CO report makes that clear. This proposal doesn't create new money. It redirects existing general fund money. That means the city would have to cut services, raise revenue, or do both in other places. The CO report says the $175 million compromise would still increase the structural deficit by $43.75 million in 2027 to 2028. Next year's budget, $87.5 million in 28-29, $131.25 million in 29-30, and create a $63 million deficit in 2030 to 31. And that's the compromise version, colleagues. That's not the full doubling. It would put a meaningful increase before voters now. It would add $175 million for parks. And actually, by the time the full 4 years has passed, it's going to be higher. It's going to be closer to $220 million because property growth accrues at a rate of about 5% a year. So if you compound that 5% every single year, you're looking at more like $220 million in 4 years rather than $175 million. It would include a fiscal emergency valve so the city has some protection if we face another budget crisis. And it would start the work of identifying additional revenue for parks, including a possible 2028 measure with the county or one of our own. And I just want to push back. That is not nothing. That is increasing one department's budget by 50% at a time when our fiscal situation is precarious at best. It's a serious commitment. It's in the charter. It's not in an ordinance, and it is done in a way to move now while still doing the work to identify the revenue needed for a larger long-term investment. So I'm disappointed that even with that compromise on the table, some advocates haven't moved at all. I heard public comment today saying this room is full of people who want to get creative about funding parks. That's great. I agree. Let's go do it. But creativity can't just mean putting a larger and larger mandate into the charter without a revenue source and then telling everyone else to figure out who gets cut later, because it's those of us up here who are going to be having to do that in 2 years, in 3 years, in 4 years. The Charter Commission doesn't actually have to balance the budget. We do, which is why this process exists in the first place. And I want to be direct about something else that was implied during public comment. We didn't kill a citizens' initiative. A citizens' initiative is a real path. It's also a serious undertaking. It requires legal work, political work, coalition work, fundraising, signature gathering, and a campaign that's prepared to go to voters and make the case. And we got close, and it didn't happen for a bunch of reasons, and it's too bad that it didn't, because I think a lot of us up here would have been championing it for the November ballot. So I'll just end there. Compromise means that no one's thrilled, but that's what government is when we do it responsibly, because otherwise we're going to be back here in 4 years looking at a $500 million hole between parks and the convention center, which we also have to figure out how to pay for. And all of that's going to come due around the same time as any overage on the Olympics. And so I have the not fun task as budget chair of reminding us that we have to do this in a responsible way, and so that's what I'm doing. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you so much. And to you, Madam Budget Chair, I am thrilled that you made a compromise that made sense, because I frankly couldn't have gotten there to support that big a fiscal cliff, given the challenges that we faced in the last 2 budget years and all the upcoming upsides and downsides that we have going forward. And I just want to say to everybody who's a park advocate, I just want to put this into consideration. When you say to a person who represents the part of the city that is park poor, let's put a bunch more money into parks, what I hear is, let's put a bunch of money into everywhere else, and you necessarily aren't going to get that much money because you don't have any parks. You lock in the inequity, and there's nothing in this that I saw that addresses LA. It is true that LA is park poor. It is not true that LA is park poor everywhere. LA is park poor in very particular places that have a lot in common with each other. And if again, I'm all for more funding for more parks, but I think you have to take a look at that issue when you make such a broad sweep into the city coffers. Any other discussion on this item? All right. Madam Clerk, should we take a vote to adopt this particular provision?
Looks like there's some questions maybe from CAO. Sorry,
I think
Council President.
if I could just make some clarifying or technical recommendations based on the report that's in front of you, and based on what we heard. And I just want to clarify, and thank you for the opportunity. There was a question as to whether it would be important to keep the new dollars separate from the base of the 0.0325%, based on how we were going to treat that. If the desire is to just increase the percentage and then apply the 30% fiscal emergency potential reduction to the entire amount, that a $175 million increase over 4 years based on our estimated assessed value of $1.119 billion in fiscal 2030-31 would be 0.048136%. That would increase the Rec and Parks budget, or it would increase the total RAP appropriation to $538,734,035, which is 175 over their current appropriation of $303 million. So, and if that were to be applied to the recommendations, that it would be implemented in equal parts over 4 years, with the percentage landing at 0.048136 in fiscal 30-31, that would achieve the increase in the percentage as instructed. And I want to then confirm that the declaration of fiscal emergency would then apply to the entire amount.
So I think we qualified it to say 30%. It could be reduced by up to 30%.
Oh, yes, the 30% of the entire amount, correct, 30%.
Right. You want confirmation that that's...
Yes.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right.
I guess the only thing I would ask for, and we're sort of short on time for this whole process, but if we could get back numbers on if we were to do, instead of 4 years, 5 years, and push that out, just given what's happening with the Olympics and Convention Center, because we still don't have a hard number on what that obligation is going to be. If that's okay with you, Council President.
Pending as a part of
Yeah,
voting
just
to
so we
adopt
get the
this, so we
information
have the
back.
info.
We say 4 years, but get the information back on what 5 and let's just say 6 looks like, so that we know.
Yes,
Just within the next 24 hours.
We could do that. We could do that very quickly. The way that it was presented in the report, we just used a hard dollar increase to get to that 175, which was discussed. But we can show you what the 0.048136 over 5 years and 6 years looks like.
Thank you.
Councilman Rahman.
I just had a follow-up question here, which is what I asked in Friday's meeting, which is about some of the costs that are currently now outside of Rec and Parks that could be absorbed into Rec and Parks as part of this work, which would reduce the overall impact of this. So this would include things like the park closure program, which is a relatively small amount, but it's something like $6 million. Security for parks, which comes from outside of the Rangers, comes from the same program that deals with Metro, but there is some funds that go towards park security in that. There are costs from Bureau of Engineering and other departments that are also, I think, given over to parks activities that may not be addressed by the parks budget. I'm not sure whether these are included in the parks current budget, like the security program, or whether it is tallied as part of a separate LAPD budget, which would then be absorbed by the new amount. And just to make sure that we're understanding the gaps between what we're putting into this versus what its impacts on the budget will be. And I wondered whether there might be some clarity that could be shed on that as well.
So from those decisions, what we're talking about now is a minimum appropriation to recreation and parks, how those dollars are used, and what services it would cover could be made in the annual budget process. So once the dollars start coming in, over what period of time, it would be up to the council and the mayor to determine what that would cover.
And if I can add one thing to Councilwoman Rahman's question. Ms. Yaroslavsky indicated that this would be modeled on the library assessment, same language, and right now the library assessment does allow for these other costs to be paid, such as security. Library currently right now pays for additional security costs. Any capital that's related to engineering is also paid for by the library department. So I think that may address your question about whether these other costs that are outside of the Rec and Parks Department, whether they would be eligible. If the measure is modeled after the library assessment, then yes, it can be.
I guess my question is, are there currently charges that are serving Rec and Parks that are outside of the Rec and Parks budget that could be brought into the Rec and Parks budget, which might change the analysis of this chart that you provided here somewhat, just so that people are moving forward with an honest assessment of what the impact of this on our deficit year on year would be. There are just currently fees that, like this, the security budget is just one that I have a concrete number for. It's $6 million. It's paid, I believe, through the LAPD budget, and they contract out to private security for the parks closure program. And currently that's not in the Rec and Parks budget. With this change, that could be absorbed into the Rec and Parks budget and will be taken out of other budgets. That's all.
Basically so what you're saying is the structural deficit issue might not be as intense as we're being led to believe because
yes.
We're just moving money around.
I think it will be intense.
Right,
but
not quite as intense.
Not quite as intense, and I think it would behoove us to have the accurate numbers in front of us as we're making the decision.
All right, Madam Clerk, I think we're ready to go on a vote for this. Moved by Councilmember Yaroslavsky, seconded by the chair.
Okay, so just for clarification, it is the amendment that was read by Councilmember Yaroslavsky and seconded by yourself, and you're not asking this to be continued for any further information. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Councilmember Harris Dawson?
Yes.
Councilmember Rahman?
Yes.
Councilmember Yaroslavsky?
Yes.
Councilmember Soto Martinez? Yes. Councilmember Lee?
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, I believe that takes us to page 24, CRC number 54. We're now moving into the set of items regarding the police department. So I'll invite discussion on this, particularly from Councilmember Soto Martinez on these items. I know you're focused on 56, but we have 54 and 55. Both 54 and 55, it's the chair's recommendation that there is further study on both of these with particular instructions on that study. All right, if you want to do either of those or go to 56, either of those is okay, Mr. Soto Martinez.
I'll focus on 54, Mr. Council President. First of all, I want to just give thanks to Councilwoman Hernandez, who came here Friday for the last meeting on this issue. I think she emphasized many of the things that I would have emphasized had I been here. And I want to just also thank Councilmember Kosker for expressing support for the idea of making changes to this. Someone who's lived in the city of Los Angeles for my entire life, we've seen this issue move many different times. My team and I have been working on, how can we address the moment that we're currently living in. We see that many places of this, many parts of this city, I believe, we have fallen short. I don't need to go over all of them, but I do agree with many of the comments that were also made here in the public about having more oversight. And I think it's an appropriate time to say, should city council have more oversight over police policy? And I believe that answer is an emphatic yes. And so we have put together some language to add more clarity to this that I think captures a well thoughtful and balanced approach to how to do this. I don't think I do believe council should have power over some things, but also have some, give the department discretion over others. And so I want to propose this language that I think will bring more clarity to the subject. And so I want to move to amend this item to include the following language in section 574 as a new paragraph. And it reads, nothing in this section shall limit any authority of the council otherwise conferred by this charter, and no inference shall be drawn from this section restricting the subjects upon which the council may legislate, include its authority to enact ordinances, establishing the policy of the police department, except that the council shall not pass any ordinance shall not pass any ordinance that does any of the following. A, directs, prohibits, or otherwise controls the conduct of or the deployment of personnel or equipment in a particular incident, investigation, or operation, semicolon, or B, directs or otherwise controls the authority of the chief of police over the appointment, discharge, or discipline of specific individual employees under section 574 or 1070. And as used in this section, policies means rules, regulations, standards, procedures, or directives of general application, whether applicable to the department as a whole or to any bureau, division, unit, program, or function of the department. So we'd love to get a second on that to bring more clarity.
Seconded by Councilmember Rahman. Councilmember Rahman. Oh.
Thank you.
I was going to second it, but it's all good.
All right, discussion? Mr. Lee?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, while I know that the intentions are to increase accountability, CRC 54 represents one of the most significant proposed changes to LAPD governance in decades. The current police commission structure exists to provide focused civilian oversight while maintaining professional distance from day-to-day political dynamics. Over the last 30 years, the city has seen substantial progress under the existing governance model. Before replacing or weakening portions of that structure, I think the city should be very careful, should very carefully examine whether the proposal solves a demonstrated problem or merely shifts authority of one civilian body to another. There are legitimate concerns that empowering elected officials to override the police commission's policy could unintentionally politicize policy decisions and create instability as policy priorities shift with each election cycle. Long-term policing strategies work best when they are stable, consistent, and insulated from short-term political pressures. Major reforms to a governance system that has evolved over 3 decades, I don't believe should be rushed. We have the committee to take a look at and study these things further. I oppose a conclusion in the current charter package and would like to continue for additional study.
All right.
Well, I just very want to chime in. I understand Mr. Lee's points, but I would move to send this to full council.
All right, I just want to weigh on this before I take a vote, because my vote, I think, will be counterintuitive on this. I've lived in the city, was born here, and have more than any other issue watched police reform over the years. And the system, I remember, I was very young and didn't have the ability of analysis, but I remember when the system we had now was put in place, and I remember why. And the reason was because the council was so politicized around policing, and it was so provincial around each individual member. So one of the dynamics was that you couldn't move anything, but the other dynamic that was very real, which this concerns me about, and why I want to look at it harder, is policing was actually different in different parts of the city based on who the council member was. So that's one of the effects that I remember that, like, you go to this neighborhood, this is how the cops are going to be. When you investigated that, you found out that that was because not the mayor, not the police commission, or not the chief, but because that council member had so much authority over the overall police department and their operations that's how management would deal with that as a problem. And in addition, what I witnessed was effectively a logjam. So Mayor Bradley would propose changes. Mayor Bradley was a reformer. Almost none of them went anywhere because the council had been, at that moment in history, had been organized by the police department. I'm sorry, by police employee interest groups, I'll call them. I worry about council control. And also I've seen, as much as Mr. Lee, the council changes drastically in short amounts of time. So, when I got on this council, frankly, I would have been very opposed to this. Obviously, I'm open to it now, more open to it now, but that's based on the council we have now. And that can change wildly from year to year, certainly in the context of us expanding the council, which is, I want to push back on some of the public speakers, which is still very much on the table. Not on the table for tomorrow or this week, but on the table going forward. So, that's why I would join Mr. Lee in asking for more examination of this particular issue, because I just think that the what-ifs haven't been thought out enough. And I agree with the principle that there ought to be easy to understand accountability there, but I also think we need the time to think out all the implications. Anybody else on this? Yeah, sure, yeah. I'll invite anybody to have a discussion who would like. I know some of you have had some view on the history that I'm probably very clumsily describing. You had a closer seat than I did of it, but that's certainly the dynamic I remember.
I don't think we have anything to add. I think in my opening remarks, I may have said something to the effect of there are reasons for the way things are structured in the charter, and before wholesale changes are made in some of these areas, that we should at least understand the history of some of those matters. And so I think that may have been the extent of what I was stating. In the case of the police department, it was the result of decades of reform that occurred stemming back to the Christopher Commission, and I believe it's important to go back and look and see, what were the reasons for the changes made at that time, as well as, after the consent decree was signed and actually ending about a decade ago. It's important to look at that as well, and also to look at the results after the Rampart incident as well. So that may have been the extent of the comments that I made a few days ago. I don't know if anybody else has anything else to add to that.
Mr. Dundas?
I don't have anything to add to the conversation. I have a question for Councilmember Martinez, which is, you referenced when you read your amendment that it was to 574, but to the extent that this is adopted today, I also assume you would want conforming changes to 571, which is the power of the Board of Police Commissioners supersedes that of the police chief. And so I just want to make sure that that's consistent with what you're...
Yeah, I believe it's already in there.
Okay.
I would say one last thing. I think this is a wonderful debate that we're having in the public. And I appreciate folks giving a history lesson from the 90s. Many folks that are in this room today weren't probably born, or people listening. But I guarantee you, everyone here understands what has happened in the city in the last 10 years. The George Floyd uprisings, the pretextual stops, Mr. President, ICE conducting raids, tearing families apart, the ballooning liabilities that we're dealing with, the massive overtime pay that we're doing in the departments, our budget constraints. That's history right now. And had council, or if council has the power to do this, we would have made tremendous positive changes in the city. We could have already passed the prohibition on pretextual stops in Black and brown communities. We could have already had some significant influence over our liabilities. We could have had more say over families being ripped apart in the city. So yes, I appreciate the history, but we just have to acknowledge the world that we're living in the last 10 years. And I hope this body, this committee can pass it out of committee, love to have the full debate with the 15 members and see where we land. But, I believe it's worthy to have this discussion in front of the public.
All right, so we have a motion by Mr. Soto Martinez, seconded by Councilmember Rahman. Oh.
Thank you, Councilmember Rahman.
Councilmember, one of them. It's been moved and seconded. Let's call the roll, and we're doing CRC 54 as amended by Councilmember Soto Martinez.
Yes. Councilmember Harris Dawson.
No.
Councilmember Lee.
No.
Councilmember Rahman. Yes. Councilmember Soto Martinez.
Yes.
Councilmember Yoroslavsky.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. All right, 55 is police insurance. I'm requesting that this one go back for further study, include up to and including whether or not insurance companies in fact offer this policy and will offer it to LAPD officers. And if so, how much it would cost, just real basic information. Again, a very, very good idea, common sense idea, the logistics of which I'm not so sure about. So any other discussion on this, Councilmember Rahman? No, okay. All right. All right. You want to open the roll on that recommendation?
I'm sorry, so this is on 55 to...
A report back on if insurance companies will do this, how much it costs, what the logistics are.
So you'll be, in effect, continuing the item?
Yeah.
Okay. Councilmember Harris Dawson.
Yes.
Councilmember Lee.
Aye.
Councilmember Rahman. Yes. Councilmember Soto Martinez.
Yes.
Councilmember Yoroslavsky.
Yes.
5 votes in favor, motion carries.
All right, that takes us to item number 56. I'll yield to Mr. Soto Martinez, who I know has a substantial addition on this one.
No, Mr. President. To me, I think these sort of both work together.
Okay.
One is reactive to what the commission is doing. One is more proactive. For the purposes of the debate, I think it's good to have both of them on the floor when we come, if they should pass. But
I had a question.
Councilmember Rahman.
I guess my question is, if 54 is moving forward, why is this? This is the same 245 powers that we have normally. But if 54 is moving forward and we're going to be discussing that, why is 56 necessary?
Well, there's, I think for me, it's, there are going to be issues that the commission discusses that we want maybe pull up and use some of our power. But yeah, I mean, I see your point. We can always just use 54 as for everything.
And again, my question here is just changing 245 for one specific commission, and I would look to also the CLA for your, this would be the only commission for which 245 would look different, right?
This would be the only one, but there is, I'm sorry, Josh.
245E for planning.
For planning, and then in addition, there is one additional rules item that is on the desk, and it would apply similar changes to the fire department as well. So there could be, by extension, the same application to the fire commission if the committee takes up, I think it was rule 1 or 2. That's later in this report. It was rule number 1, and it is on page 41 of the CLA report.
I want to move, this will give me some comfort and ability to, I think, have a clearer vote when we go to council. The amendments that Mr. Soto Martinez made for 54, if we can apply those to 56.
So 56, just, oh, good, Mr. Dundas is here. but-
Meaning the definition of what, how he defined council, council intervention or council authority, if we use that same language
Yeah.
or the same
Maybe I'll
concept.
defer to Mr. Dundas, but the way
Yeah.
we see it on 56, this would be the board actually taking an action, the council being able to taking a 245 action to assert jurisdiction, and then stepping into the role of the commission. Whereas on item number 54, this would be the council establishing policy and that policy applying to the police department.
So 54 would do it without the commission, this would do it with the commission, effectively.
That is correct. That's
Yeah.
the way I see it. But Mr. Dundas, I defer.
That's absolutely right. The proposal of the Charter Reform
Your
Commission was
mic
to...
is, I don't know what's going on.
Is it on? Oh, there we go.
There you go.
The proposal of the Charter Reform Commission was to give the City Council 245E power over, the same power they have over the planning department right now, you have over the police department. So in taking CRC 54, the proposal from Councilmember Soto Martinez, that would allow you to set policy by ordinance. This would also allow you to supersede the actions of the commission without necessarily having to do an ordinance, but simply stepping into their shoes and taking over the decision for them, as you would under 245E for the planning commission.
Yeah, I just, what I wanted to move from Mr. Soto Martinez's amendment on 54 was the categories that's done in. That's really what we're trying to do, yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Dundas, I'm curious about your legal opinion. You know, for me, 54, obviously, it's more important because it just really gives council the power to set policy over the department. 245E, as you mentioned, is stepping in their shoes and then doing, making policy based on a council agenda item that they heard. But does that create some maybe some legal confusion about how those two powers might work? Should they both pass?
I mean, I would say no, only because that's exactly how it works today with the planning department. You can set policy by ordinance to the extent that there are limitations in the charter with respect to, everything that's set forth in the planning sections. But you have the power to set ordinances, and you also have the 245E power of the planning department when the commission so acts. So I don't think it would create confusion. It's just two separate avenues of control over policymaking.
Okay.
The one thing about 245 is that you only act in response to an action by the commission. If the commission takes no action, there's nothing to 245.
Great. Okay. So in other words, it would be similar to the way we do planning right now. We obviously pass ordinances around planning and land use, but oftentimes we use 245E to discuss something that the commission for the planning department also. I got you. I understand. Okay, great.
Councilmember Rahman.
I just want to, again, ask a clarifying question here. What are the kinds of decisions over which the council would have authority here? Like in the planning department, we've been trying, this is just based on my experience sitting on Plum, and I don't sit on public safety, so I have less experience with individual decisions of the police commission. But on Plum Committee, we have been trying to reduce council discretion over routine planning matters to eliminate conflicts of interest and to increase speed. I'm trying to understand maybe I misunderstood what this was trying to do, and I'm realizing I want to understand what are the kinds of decisions that we would have authority over.
Well, I mean, I was putting forward the categories that Mr. Soto Martinez put forward in item number 54. I was suggesting that we apply that to 245 as well, so that it keeps us necessarily out of, like in Plum, you don't do, they fired this planner, that doesn't come to the Plum Committee. Policy really comes to the Plum Committee. So really trying to limit it to that, our 245 power to that, rather than being broad, yeah.
Oh, I understand, Mr. President. Yeah, because the Board of Police Commissioners handles these issues that you described, and you wouldn't want us to pull them out and have power. I'm good with that. I think that makes sense.
All right.
So yeah, A and B is good.
Okay. Mr. Lee.
Colleagues, I really, really want to caution you we have spent decades improving public confidence and in citizen oversight of our LAPD. The more we do this, the more we are able to act and make this, we politicize this decision. This is the exact same reason they took it out of the hands of the council. Normally, in 1999, when they did Charter Commission, which I was around for, that they took away some of the power from council, made a stronger mayor. I'm all for us as a council trying to reel back some of that decision-making and power here in the city of Los Angeles because there are 15 members. I caution over this one because the world is different than it was then. And it's a much better department. It's a department that is extremely progressive. It is a department that strives to, make changes to the department, to, make positive changes. I mean, while improvements to accountability is something we should always be striving more for, I really caution everyone on this committee that we risk the danger of politicizing this decision. Councils change, personalities change, ideas change, and this could have some definite unintended consequences if we move this forward as it is right now. So I really ask that we continue for additional study and broader governance review over this.
Just to add, as one of the senior members of the committee, in terms of age, I mean, it's a lot of the discussion around charter reform has been building trust in government. And one of the things I want to tell you is, in the 90s, when we had the system of the council, the 8th district, we never had a representative that was supported by the police union, ever. Like, you didn't get elected. So what that meant was, every time something happened or didn't happen, the notion was, well, your guy doesn't support us, so we're not going to patrol. Everybody knows, oh, there's going to be a big fight in the park after school. You know what I mean? And no LAPD would show up, and the answer would be, well, tell your councilman to support us. And so it's tough to imagine now because so much time has passed and there has been so many changes. But this again creates serious gaps and serious problems that are difficult, can be difficult to undo. And so I just want to keep waving the flag around where we've been, because I think it's easy to forget given the amount of progress that has been made on this matter. All right? Anything else? All right, where are we, Madam Clerk?
Okay, Mr. Chair, so we have an amendment from Councilmember Soto Martinez, seconded by Councilmember Rahman, and with the additional language from the amendment on CRC 54, which is that this authority be used to direct, prohibit, or otherwise control the conduct of or the deployment of personnel or equipment in a particular incident, investigation, or operation, or direct the adequate control authority of the chief of police over the appointment, discharge, or discipline of specific individual employees under Section 574 or 1070. And that is my understanding.
All right. If that's consistent with my understanding. Any other discussion? Councilmember Rahman.
Sorry, does this include things like contracting?
The idea is that we limit the scope to policy.
But that's not what the amendment says.
Can the amendment add a line that we limit the scope to policy?
I'm sorry, what was that?
That we limit the scope to policy?
So that is an additional item, limit scope to policy. And that is part of, is that part of
the amendment?
Councilmember Soto Martinez's amendment? Okay, all right.
Mr. Dundas, you're going to tell us we can't do this sloppy language on the fly.
Thank you, sir. No, I will just say that with respect to carrying in the bullet points from Councilmember Soto Martinez's motion from Charter Section or Recommendation 54, the one about personnel may conflict with the existing language of the charter. So under 245 currently, this board can 245 the personnel decisions of the police commission, not the chief. They have to get to the commission. And so to the extent that that may conflict, you may just want to leave the personnel-related sections out of this motion and leave the charter the way it is with respect to the personnel decisions. I'm not suggesting the policy, but that's just, those two recommendations conflict at the moment, that's all. So you'd need to further amend, I think, Charter Section 245 to eliminate, I believe it's specifically 245D7.
Yes. And just for some clarification, D7 is probably there because the council has the right to 245 the board's decision to fire a chief of police. So I think that's probably why it's there. And under 245 as it exists now, contracts, any decision of the board is up for 245.
So you're suggesting that what we're doing is actually restricting power that we already have?
We'd have to look into it a little bit more. It's a confusing section of the charter, so.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's what we're going for here. Councilmember Soto Martinez.
Yeah, Mr. Dundas, I understand what you're saying, but I don't know if the language in A and B does not, it says the deployment of personnel, not the hiring, firing of personnel.
Wasn't B related to the, I was only listening to what you said. I don't have a copy. B is, shall not be involved in directing or otherwise controlling the authority over the appointment, discharge, or discipline of specific individual employees. So I think that 245D7 does allow you to 245 decisions related to those of the Board of Police Commissioners.
Well, I think what we're trying to get to is make 54 and 56 consistent. That's it.
Okay.
That's what we're trying to get to.
Okay, and to answer Councilmember Rahman's question, and that was echoed by the Council President, you are currently allowed to 245 almost anything from the Board of Police Commissioners because they're not exempt from this, but you're limited to a veto. What the conversation is now is to give you the planning authority to step into their shoes.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I worry about this a lot because I think the intention is for us, I think the intention actually is more on the piece that I voted against, actually, now that I'm hearing it out. That's actually more similar to what I want to do than this. Because it's true that we have 245 authority, even though I question some of that, because if something goes to the Board of Rights and they make a decision and the commission implements it, if we 245 it, we can't overturn the Board of Rights. And that's a question.
Right now you cannot.
Right, you can't, right?
Right now you cannot. In fact, right now, it says that it is an exempt from 245. So.
Okay. So it's already exempt from 245?
It is already exempt under 245.
Okay.
So personnel decisions of the Board of Commissioners other than, oh wait, actually it says other than the Board of Police Commissioners, but that relates to the Chief of Police, I believe.
Yeah.
Is that correct, Josh?
This is part of the reason why I think that our office recommended more study.
More into the mic because I can't hear you. This is part of the reason.
Sorry. I think this is part of the reason why we recommended more study on this. This is a complicated subject, and we want to make sure that whatever the council wants is implemented correctly.
Councilmember Rahman.
I was supportive of 54, and I broadly agree with the idea of the city council being able to have more direct influence over policy. What I want to do is, this is broadly an effort to try and increase trust in government. And just because of the way that 245 works in other parts of our government, I just want to make sure that what we're doing today is not allowing for us to have undue influence over things that will ultimately not serve the policy-making function that you're saying. So I'm supportive of that. This is not to undermine that effort in any way. shape, or form, but to say, if we are we should understand what we're voting on. And we should make sure we understand the full implications of what we're voting on. And if we're allowed to now say, we substitute our favored contractor over a contract that's been approved in the police commission, how does that, I mean, that's what I'm trying to, what is the scope of our ability to substitute the council's authority over what the police commission is saying, and how does that serve the broader questions around trust and functionality that we're talking about here? I just don't understand it, and I want to make sure I understand what I'm voting on. And once again, want to underscore, I'm supportive of our ability to have greater power over some of the policy making that we didn't have, but have questions about this. I may be misunderstanding, so please feel free to educate me, but I don't understand what we're voting on right now.
So, members and staff, I have some language in front of me that I think might get at what we're doing, what we're trying to do. So the amendment would be to present to the voters in 2026 a charter amendment consistent with CRC 56 to sustain the council's veto action specific to policies, procedures, and programs. This should not include personnel decisions, disciplinary actions, or any adjudicative or quasi-judicial determination. I'd like to include language that expands the council's authorities to amend, modify, or substitute an action taken by the commission. The charter mission should include language that gives council independent policy authority if the Board of Public Works has not acted on a policy within 60 days of passage. Board of Police Commissioners, sorry. What did I say? Yikes. Lastly, I think it's important to look at the makeup of the Board of Police Commissioners as a report back, everybody, report back. I'd like to request the city attorney and the chief legislative analyst to report on the legal and operational implications of a potential charter amendment that would expand the Board of Police Commissioners from 5 to 7 members, authorizing the mayor to appoint 4 commissioners and the city council to support 3 commissioners by a majority vote. All right. I would love a second. Councilmember Rahman seconds. I'm sorry, Madam Ciela.
Mr. Chair, I just want to confirm that your language would actually change 245, that you do not want to be able to 245 any personnel decisions in the police commission, because that exists today, and now you would be amending that.
I would like the language to be consistent with what the practice is today, which is what the council looks at is the chief. The council doesn't look at someone was transferred from this station to that station. And whatever language we need to do that. I think that's the idea.
Okay, I just want to see
So
confirmation
I do not want to take away the council's ability to look at the chief. I do want to take away, if that exists, I don't think any of us knew that existed, because I would have had some 245s. But other personnel, I think generally the consensus is the council should stay out of that.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Chair, just
Yes.
to confirm, that's the motion that is in front of the committee at the moment, is the text you just read. Can I read that back just to make sure I've got the right language?
Please do, please do.
Okay. So this is CRC 56. Present to voters in November 2026 a charter amendment consistent with CRC 56 to sustain the council's veto action specific to policies, regulations, procedures, programs. This should not include personnel decisions, which you just qualified to say not reducing current council authorities. Disciplinary actions, contracts, or any adjudicative quasi-judicial determinations. And that you would want the language to include language that expands the council's authority to amend, modify, or substitute an action taken by that board. The charter amendment should include language that gives council independent policy authority if the Board of Police Commissioners has not acted on a policy within 60 days. And then the remaining action was a report back on expanding the commission.
Yep.
So if I may, Mr. Chair, I think, as I understood, the intent was to reduce the council's authority over police personnel decisions, except as regarding the chief of police. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. I think we're clear on our understanding of the motion that's just made, so.
All right, questions, comments, anybody? Anybody? All right. All right, it's been moved and seconded. Can call the roll.
Yes, and so this is on the amendment, Harris Dawson Rahman.
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay, Harris Dawson,
Yes.
Councilmember Lee,
No.
Councilmember Rahman,
Yes, yes.
Councilmember Soto Martinez,
Yes.
Councilmember Yoroslavsky.
Yes.
Motion carries. And so the original motion that was made by Councilmember Soto Martinez and seconded by Councilmember Rahman, do we need to vote on that? Or were you withdrawing that motion, Councilmember?
I think the language we had covers,
CRC 56.
yeah, it covers all of 56.
Okay.
All right. Councilmember Rahman?
I just wanted to make sure, because this was, is there a way for us, before we vote on this in full council, for us to have a better understanding of the implications of the new language on how this works? I mean, it just, I think I understand it, but this feels very fast. This is a very fast timeline. I've talked about my challenges with the timeline already in Friday's meeting and in previous meetings. I'm not going to reiterate that, but this is part of the challenge, is that these are complicated questions. We don't have anybody from the police department here to help us.
Feel free to come to the table,
Yeah,
Mrs.
to make sure that we understand the implications of this. We also just may need it on Wednesday, if we're voting on this on Wednesday, that we have a real understanding of what we're moving to the ballot.
And any questions I can answer for you?
What's your general understanding of what we did now, what we just passed? What's the material difference between that and what we have now, from your point of view?
And so this would mean that you would, in addition to being able to veto an action of the police commission, you would be able to remand that back to the police commission with a direction as to the action the commission should take. Is that a correct characterization?
I would articulate it slightly differently. We'd be able to remand it back, and then on the second go-round, we could actually just pass the policy on our own.
So that's different from the current structure, which is that you could veto, but you would not be able to then subsequently take the action as the city council. It would simply be vetoing the action of the board.
So right now, we get 2 vetoes, and then it's basically a stalemate, I guess you would describe it. Whereas what we're proposing is the council could actually move a policy forward.
That would be the difference.
That's
yes.
the difference, okay. Thank you, that was clear. Any other discussion on this before we move to the next piece? All right, thank you. That takes us to our next item, which is committee
CRC.
recommendation.
Yeah,
Yes, go ahead.
57, CRC 57.
Oh, CRC 57, okay, I skipped over one. I'm going to recommend that we note and file this. I think a lot of it's taken care of in the previous one that we've done, if there's any discussion. I'll hear it now. But if not, seeing none, we'll note and file that one without objection. Then number 58, Chief of Police duty to protect constitutional rights and ability to fire officers. Any discussion on this, Mr. Soto Martinez?
No, Mr. Chair. I think this is also a thing that is important. I want to move to adopt CRC 58 with the clarification that the chief would be able to fire officers ahead of their appeal process, which could still occur, and to make sure Section 574 and 1070 are unified on that.
I have a question for the department, if we got somebody from the department here. Chief Rockaway.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon. How does this intention comport with our agreement with the bargaining unit for the police department?
Are you referring to the Board of Rights process and the decisions that are made at the Board of Rights?
Anything that includes that, yes.
Well, I'd like to do a little bit of a background as far as the Board of Rights process, if that's okay, sir?
Sure.
So once the chief makes a determination that somebody, a department employee, after an investigation has been concluded, that person should be considered for termination, they're directed to a Board of Rights. Now, since 2017, that Board of Rights, those members that make the decision are 3 civilians. That Board of Rights is heard once that decision is made by those hearing examiners who are hired by the Police Commission. At that point, they can make a recommendation for termination back to the Chief of Police. The Chief of Police then will uphold that, or he could reduce the penalty, and those are the only 2 options that he has. Once the Board of Rights is concluded and the person has been terminated, they're terminated. And again, the chief signs off on that within the next, I believe, 3 days, sir. So as far as conversations about bargaining, as far as the league's concerned and the Commander Office Association, sir, I know that this process was voted on back in 2017. I know that as far as I'm concerned from PSB's standpoint, the process is in place, and I don't have conversations with any organizations about changes. The system is the system that was created back in 1935. So I hope that answers part of your question, sir.
Mr. Soto Martinez.
Yes, thank you so much, Commander, for being here. Obviously, this is an issue that Councilmember McCosker and I worked quite a bit, I think in my first years that we were here, so I remember familiarizing myself quite a bit with this process. For one of the things I learned that I thought that was the most kind of shocking was that unlike most city employees in the city of LA, they get fired first, and then they have their ability to grieve that process and maybe get their jobs back. In the police department, it's the opposite. Usually when the chief makes a decision, this person should be fired, they're not immediately fired. They go through a very lengthy process, sometimes even more than a year before even a decision is made. So I want to dig in a little bit on that. Could you please explain, after the chief has said, yes, this person should be fired for what they did, how long does it usually take for that decision to come back to the chief, whether to uphold the decision or lower it? How long does that time usually take?
I wish I could give you a direct answer on that, sir, but I'm going to have to give you a story. So if somebody is directed to a Board of Rights by the Chief of Police, he is assigned home or she is assigned home without pay.
And how long do they usually?
For 30 days. So they're assigned home for 30 days without pay. That means that they're assigned home, and then we take their gun, their badge, their police powers. So in essence, they're not a police officer anymore. So they're assigned home, but they're not getting paid. So they're a citizen, a resident. And then they wait for their Board of Rights. And that Board of Rights, in essence, is an appeal. That appeal goes before those 3 civilians that are appointed by the Police Commission to present their case to see if they get to keep or get their job back. So keep in mind, that sometimes takes a long time to get done, because their representation for an accused employee may take a little bit of time to get that done, so they waive their time. So you're right. Sometimes Board of Rights aren't held or heard for a good amount of time. But during that time, they're not paid. They do not have police powers. And in essence, that Board of Rights is their opportunity or their appeal to get their job back.
So how long does that take?
It can take up to a year.
Okay.
But again, they're only paid for 30 days. So after that, they're not a police
I get
officer.
it. I get it. It takes a very long time. That's the point I'm trying to get to. And can you just enlighten the public? Because there's so many police officers right now that because they're no longer trustworthy, they can't be credible witnesses in the court of law, that they're no longer interacting with the public. Isn't that correct?
I don't think that's fair for me to be put in that position to answer that question right now. I would have to go back and do a little bit of research to see how many people are not allowed to have, let's say, public contact. That would take a little bit of time.
Okay, well, look.
You have people that are not allowed to have public contact?
Well, while they're pending investigations.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Other times that have other issues, of course.
Okay, there are, last I heard from a different commander that was in your shoes, that there's over 200 police officers that have done acts so egregious that they can't even interact with the public.
And again, for me to be able to find those numbers, it would take a little bit of time, so I wouldn't be able to get it for you right now. Because that's part of the REMAC process. That's a whole other issue. So.
I know. Like you're going to answer. You're going to walk the party line right now. So that's the issue. That's the issue that we have right now with our current department. It's when I learned that through this process that we went through, I was beside myself. I could not believe that we have a system where this currently happens, where it takes years for them to, many times more than a year, to adjudicate the decision that whether this should be terminated or not. And oftentimes, because we have an all-civilian board, has actually found to be more sympathetic to the police officer than the traditional board of rights. And so I think giving the chief of police the ability to fire first, and then they get to make that decision, is going to save us, not only going to save us a lot of money, but it's also going to change the way the all-civilian board makes a decision. Because the reality is that studies have shown that the all-civilian board, because they're civilians, they're not professionals, they're not, a human resource, that they're very hesitant to take away someone's job. But the decision is very different if that person is terminated and whether they deserve to come back. And I think that's a more traditional way that unions deal with terminated workers. And so I think giving the police chief the ability to do that not only makes it consistent, but is also financially the right thing to do.
Thank you, Mr. Soto Martinez. That wasn't a question, I'm guessing. I'm asking.
No, I'm just making
a statement.
I dealt with this quite a bit when, my first year, so just want to point out what I learned.
All right, any other discussion on this item?
Mr. Chair, if I could just say that this is something that I just checked with the CAO, it is subject to the meet and confer process. Typically, that meet and confer process would be concluded before we put something like this on the ballot. I don't believe that has taken place yet. Anything regarding personnel decisions, hiring and firing of police officers, changing the charter, as it relates to that, typically would require a meet and confer process.
So can we confirm that the meet and confer process has not happened or started, or?
I would ask the CAO to address that.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I can confirm that. We did reach out and engage, but there was no response on these matters from the union representing police officers. So we have not conducted that process.
So what does that mean when there's no response? Does that mean that the meet and confer is just not satisfied and we don't move forward, or does it mean we reached out, they didn't answer, and we're moving ahead?
We would need to, because these are matters related to the charter, we would need to determine that having no response, the process has reached impasse, and that we would have to declare impasse and move forward.
And when did we reach out to them?
I'll need to get that. I'll need to get that to you.
Okay. Any other questions from Mr. Szabo?
I mean, I would like to know when we reach out, but he's going to work on that.
Yeah. All right, let's hold this one and we'll get the answer to that question at least. But again, this is, folks will remember last week, I said more times than I can count, better to do these things right than to do them fast. I think these set of issues are particularly complicated. They seem like common sense on their face, but when you try to drill down into what it actually means to implement, they're far more complicated. So I will give Mr. Szabo a second because it looks like he might have something.
So in terms of our outreach, we reached out and invited the members to bargain over these and any other charter reforms on February 23rd, 2026, on March 4th, 2026, and on May 19th, 2026, with no response.
Councilmember Soto Martinez.
Can I just want to point out the sort of the duality of the personnel issues that we're dealing with right now. We have an item that we're going to hear in a few moments about personnel where there's been a total of 5 meetings and we're already presenting a last, best, and final offer. And we've reached out to LAPPL multiple times and we haven't heard anything and we haven't done anything to say this is our last, best, and final or even declare impasse or anything? Is that truly what's happening here? Is that what's happening? We have an unresponsive union, and we're saying nothing, and then we have another side, personnel issues, and we're saying we're presenting a last, best, and final.
Well, when we discuss the civil service reform, we can discuss the details of those meetings, but
so what have we done? Like, we have on one side, we're saying seems like we're playing kind of hardball and saying this is our last, best, and final offer. And for an unresponsive organization, we've done, what have we done?
We've invited them to bargain.
And they said?
And there has been no response.
Okay, so what have we done? We've done nothing, right?
There has been no meet and confer on these items.
Because they haven't responded.
Correct.
So what are our legal what are our legal options when you have an organization that's not responsive?
We could move to impasse.
Okay, and why haven't we done that?
I would need it would be appropriate for the city attorney to address that, and if we need to, we can bring them and have that discussion.
I guess the question: have they responded at all?
I don't believe there's been any response whatsoever.
So they've left us on red. Great.
Yeah, no response.
I just, I'm glad this is happening in the public eye. It just goes to show you how certain unions are treated differently and how others are not. And it's infuriating. There's no secret. I've spent 16 years in the labor movement. And I've been, mostly on the other side, fighting for workers. And I have such a respect for the process. Even though I don't agree usually with LAPPL. I don't. But I respect the process. And I'm sorry, I'm looking at you, Mr. Szabo, but I'm just venting my feelings. I have such respect for the process, but even when you don't agree with your opponent, at least respond. I've never done that as a labor leader. I've never said to the company, you know what? I'm just not going to respond. Because you know what happens? They declare impasse. That's what happens. That's what employers do when you have an unresponsive labor union. They say, you know what? You've given up your right to bargain, and we're just going to do what we want. That's crazy. crazy. Like, most of the public out here just truly doesn't understand this world as much as I do, and maybe some of my colleagues do. But it is crazy that they haven't responded, and we haven't done anything. Look, my union folks in the crowd are like, yeah, that's right. It's just ridiculous.
And it seems to me, again, I haven't been a part of very many labor negotiations, certainly not at the scale of the city of Los Angeles, but it seems to me like at a certain point, at a certain number of not showing up, you sort of concede your right to meet and confer. I mean, again, I know I'm talking to you, but I'm not asking you. It just, in almost every other process, if you have an opportunity for regest or engagement and you don't take it, it's taken as you're okay with whatever is happening. And it sounds like the rules might be different here. I want to be clear that that's what we're saying.
No, I'm not sure the rules are different. But what I would like to do is be able to confer with the city attorney on this matter and advise the council before the vote on Wednesday.
All right, so we'll, Councilmember Soto Martinez.
I am truly outraged. I've been outraged a few times. This is truly outrageous. I want us to make, we have to, anyways, I want us to make a decision. If we can, Mr. President, I want to be respectful, but I think if we're able to, I want this committee to make a decision today whether we can do impasse or not. If we're able to. I don't even know if we can, but if we can, I would like to do that, or at least have the option to do it between now and Wednesday, because if anything, maybe that gets them to the table and start talking, but it's just really outrageous. But I don't know if we could do that, but, if you're okay with that.
Streffen?
I have no idea whether we can declare an impasse now or not. We're going to have to figure out what the procedures are.
Okay, look, I think, go ahead, Mr. Sabo.
I think it would be appropriate, if that is the intention, to authorize an impasse at this time. And then we can move forward, and the formal declaration would happen.
Can this committee authorize an impasse?
Ultimately, it would be the council that
the full council has to do that, right?
That would act on it, yes. But if that is the intention, if that is the policy direction of this committee, you can do that. And then, as I said, we would come back with our final recommendations on Wednesday.
So look, I think I'm prepared to recommend that that staff pursue an impasse in advance of our Wednesday vote, and we'll forward this. If this works for the members of this body, that we recommend declaration of an impasse, and that we bring this to full council on Wednesday, pending that the outcome of that conversation.
I'm okay with that.
All right.
And they're going to respond. I hope they respond. That's the responsible thing to do. But I'm good with that.
We're going to do it. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I mean, it's still. I still want to validate and share in Mr. Soto Martinez's outrage over this, because, well, now all they have to do is say, oh, well, we want to negotiate, and the clock's run out. So it's the clock's run out on November 2026. It's not run out going forward. But, so we'll see. So we'll continue that item or move that item on to council pending the declaration of impasse. What's next, Madam Clerk? Or Mr.
Mr. Chair, are on item 58, then what is it that you're moving forward to council? What is the recommendation to move to council?
We're moving this item forward without recommendation pending the declaration of an impasse.
Okay, thank you.
All right. All right, and Mr. Wickham, if you can give us advice on where we are.
And just for clarification, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. The CLA's report on CRC 57 was to note and file. And so this committee's
This is CRC 58.
I'm sorry.
58.
Okay.
Yeah.
And our recommendation was note and file. I understood the chair to say that there is no recommendation at all pending
Yeah.
the action. I think
All right, what's our next one? Okay.
Yeah, I have committee recommendation number 1, which is to mirror these LAPD actions with the LA Fire Department.
All right, that one seems straightforward. Any discussion on this item? Mr. Lee, Mr. Soto Martinez? It's just the mirroring of for LAPD, LAFD, I'm sorry, with. Madam CLA?
Oh, yes, I was just conferring with Mr. Liu here. There is an issue with this because just the matter we were just
We still
speaking
need to
with,
meet and confer there, too?
There was no meet and confer with fire.
All right, look, I'm going to move we note and file this one because the. So there's the contention that if the lack of meet and confer stops one of them, and they stop all of them on LAPD. Just want to make sure that's not the case before we go forward.
So this was as it related to the personnel decisions.
Oh, only as it relates to personnel
Yes, this
decisions.
was
Got
the
it, okay.
personnel-related decisions,
Okay.
yes.
So, all right. Thank you for that clarification. All right, the next one is committee recommendation number 2. Mr. Wickham, can you just walk us through what the desire to do here is? This is to strengthen the independence of the LAPD Inspector General. The committee recommended that 573 of the charter related to the Office of the Inspector General of the Police Department and the Independent Assessor of the Fire Department be amended to strike any authority of the Board of Police Commissioners or the Board of Fire Commissioners by majority vote to direct the Inspector General Independent Assessor not to commence or to continue an investigation or audit. The intent of this recommendation is to remove the ability of the police and fire commissions to stop an investigation or audit being conducted by the oversight official. Mr. Inspector General, you're here with us today.
Good afternoon. I'm Matthew Barragan, Inspector General for the Los Angeles Police Department. I'm available to answer any questions.
What's your opinion of the proposal that's before us?
I understand the intent is to give greater opportunity of my office and my position as an exempt employee to conduct investigations and reviews without a majority vote to stop those investigations or audits. I understand that that has not been exercised historically, so I think a period of decades that we looked back, I haven't seen that order or direction. I remain an employee that is exempt and at will to the police commission, so I'm their eyes and ears. They can direct and initiate an audit, and so that's my perspective. It hasn't been used to stop our work.
So you don't know of an Inspector General that has actually been stopped or told to stop in fire, or at least in police, I assume you're talking about, not necessarily fire?
That's correct.
Okay. Any other questions, comments on this item? All right, members, it seems to make sense to move this forward to the full council, in as much as if the testimony of the Inspector General is that we're taking away a power that has not been invoked, as far as we know. So if there's no discussion on it, we'll move on that one without objection. All right. What's next, Mr. Wickham? Thank you, Mr. Inspector General.
Mr. Chair, could you repeat the instruction on that one?
Just to move the recommendation forward to the full council?
Okay, which is to present to voters.
Yes,
this
to
measure.
prepare language for a ballot initiative.
Thank you. right, what is?
Rules number 5. Rules number 5.
Rules number 5, amend section 461A as it relates to signature requirements to change the signature requirement for referendary petitions?
That is not where I am. I got one more LAPD. Mayor/council's ability to reorganize LAPD and LAFT.
Okay, that's.
Chair recommendation number 1. Huh?
Yes, Mr. Chair, that is a new recommendation from your office. Would you like me to read that into the record?
Please.
The recommendation would be to present to voters in November 2026 a charter amendment to remove, quote, or character, end quote, from section 514B7, which relates to the ability of the executive branch to make changes to the police and the fire departments.
Oh, that's.
Can't reorganize the departments if it affects the purpose or character of the department.
So we wanted to only say purpose.
So, yeah, exactly. So character is something to do with
Well, that's what we're taking out the word character. So the idea here is to take out the word character because it says character or purpose, and I think purpose is what is intended. So that's the recommendation here. So the amendment would be to remove character.
Okay.
All right. All right, Madam Clerk, so without objection, we'll move that one forward, move that one to full council, and then we're at personnel now?
Yes, we're personnel now.
All right, we have the leader of our personnel department with us today. I'll ask her to give us a general overview of what's before us, and then sort of any response to the public comment on these personnel items.
Good morning, members. Malika Billups, General Manager of the Personnel Department. When I was last here, we had presented a proposal that we had shared with our labor partners. We have since presented a last best and final offer proposal with similar but more favorable positions to labor in response to the numerous meetings that we have had with our labor partners. Broadly, we are looking at provisions to expand the number of exemptions by adding additional exemptions as assistant general managers and providing an individual independent buckets of exemptions to each of the proprietary departments, 40 to DWP, 10 to the harbor, and 50 to the Department of Airports. There are a number of language changes to the exemption provisions that are not as, I would say, controversial as the expansion of the exemptions, but there are a number of other proposals. We are also proposing to change the language with respect to examinations, to provide a carve-out for classifications which require a specific license or certification to expedite the hiring process, where that license or certification is not issued by the city, but rather issued by a third-party organization, like the state or the county. We've been working with our labor partners to identify which positions we would enumerate within there. I think we're pretty close. We are additionally proposing to increase the military credit from 5 to 10%. And we are also looking for changes to the the promotion provisions of the charter, which relate to whether or not we can create combined open and promotional lists in circumstances where we have assessed and decided that it is appropriate for the advancement of the city. Finally, there are a few provisions where we're looking to transfer authority from the Civil Service Commission to the general manager of the Personnel Department, where we believe that expediency outweighs the benefit of having to wait for the Civil Service Commission to meet to make the recommendation to move forward. And that is in the area of creating allocations, allocating positions, and transfers in certain circumstances, and temporary appointments. That is a broad overview of what we have been meeting and conferring with our labor partners over, and that is the overview of our last, best, and final offer. In addition,
sorry, go ahead.
I would like to take a point to mention, if you weren't going, I don't know if you were going to ask about this, but I also did want to talk about discussions I've had with the Los Angeles Black Workers Center.
Yes,
about
please.
some of their proposals. May I proceed? So I mentioned at the last meeting that they had 6 proposals, and there are 5 of the proposals I don't believe require meet and confer. The 6th proposal is one that relates to changing, modernizing hiring and testing. And to a certain degree, I think a lot of their proposals are being covered by the meet and confer process that we are addressing. But I did want to address the other 5 proposals and just at a high level discuss how we intend to move forward with partnering with the LA Black Workers Center to achieve some of the goals that they are seeking. Because I do find them valuable. I think that they're important, and I'd like to sit down with them and continue to sit down with them. So they're looking for a civil service review board, which I mentioned last time. I think there are some aspects of oversight that they're looking to find that currently our Civil Service Commission doesn't take, but in part that's because the Personnel Department doesn't report to the Civil Service Commission on those areas. And I'd like to work with the LA Black Workers Center on those. They want to build a public service career pipeline, which we believe that the Targeted Local Hire and Bridge to Jobs program does exist, but there are inequities and concerns that they've addressed that they want to see the Personnel Department address, and we're happy to sit down and assist them, or at least learn about their concerns, about their recommendations, and to find out how we can make revisions to our process to ensure that those programs are as inclusive as possible. They are also looking for us to prioritize inclusive recruitment, and I am thoroughly looking forward to meeting with them about their ideas in order to do so. They're also looking for us to mandate workforce equity audits. I'm pleased that the city has recently completed its most recent citywide culture and climate assessment, which includes an audit of demographic information and experience. As we work through assessing that, I'd look forward to sharing that information with the LA Black Workers Center and any other organization that's interested in finding out about the experiences of our city employees, especially as they impact the various demographics. And lastly, they're looking to establish a permanent workforce equity commission. And I think that a commission is not necessarily my favorite approach for it, but I understand what they're asking for, and they're really looking for oversight. They're looking for reporting. They're looking for someone to check in basically about these very real issues related to hiring. And so we are in the process of setting up meetings, further meetings, and I look forward to working with them.
All right, discussions, members. Mr. Soto Martinez?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. First of all, thank you for your letter report. I think it's really helpful to see where we're at now, where our negotiations and where you want to be and your reasonings. I think it's really helpful. You've only met 5 times with the coalition. Can you just explain how's the tenor been, the progress, conversations?
So we started meeting in March, shortly after we issued our first written red line proposal. We had sent documents that explained sort of at a high level what our proposals were related to, but I think the coalition and other units had asked for, I think they were interested in seeing what the red lines were and what the line item changes were. And so once we were able to do that, we started with our meetings. We met 3 times, I believe, before, just to answer questions, and we spent as much time as they asked us for to provide answers to their questions about our reasoning and to share some of their concerns. They issued their first counter proposal on June 2nd. And so once we got that, we did have a meeting that was on calendar that we canceled because we were still trying to sort through the counter proposal. That was last Friday, not this past Friday, a week before. And then we ended up having our meeting with them on, it was Monday or Tuesday of last week, just to address their counter proposal. And we've continued to go back and forth until we issued a last, best, and final last Thursday on the 11th. But even since then, we've continued to meet with any labor group that has asked. We've met with the Coalition of City Unions since the last, best, and final has been issued, because we believe that it is important to try to get to as much consensus as absolutely possible on some of these items.
And how far apart are you? Like, I mean, you know, I've been in ton of bargaining.
I know.
You usually know when you're getting close or you're far apart. Like, are you guys close or you're far apart?
I think it depends on the item. I think there's some items where I believe that, keep in mind that we are bargaining with every bargaining unit that wants to bargain with us about these items. So it's, you know, we shoot out our counter proposal or our proposals, and then we've got to get feedback from everyone, and everybody's in different places and have different types of feedback and things like that. So to give you a clear answer on how close we are on some of the items is a little bit tricky, but I will say that we have a lot of alignment in some areas. The areas where we are having the most difficulty with alignment, I would say, are for the proposals in 1001A, which are exemptions to the civil service process, and in 1009, which is the promotional language. Mm-hmm. That's where I think that we probably have the most gaps, but there's some language that we might be able to agree on.
And all of these require charter change, right? Or, yes. Okay. Are you able to, because usually when you're in bargaining, if you're making progress and you feel like you're moving towards the direction of something, you want to sort of reward good behavior. I mean, I'm just using that language, and say, okay, let's keep talking about this, right? Yes. I think sending this to full council or will send the wrong message, right? Saying now we're playing hardball. I think that's the wrong thing. I don't want to send that message personally. But are you able to say, if you were to sort of itemize them, like which ones are close, which ones are more far apart, which ones you think? It's okay, take your time. Hold on.
After conferring with city management,
You just conferred, great.
So here's the landscape. I know
CFO.
Go ahead. For this purpose is bargaining. What I'll say is there are the two provisions that I mentioned that I think are sort of like the big crux, exemptions and promotions. There are some, I think, inherent challenges with what we're proposing and the way that it's being received. Not that it's being received, you know, in a necessarily a wrong way, but it's we have opposing perspectives, and we're trying to balance out the values. I'm trying to balance out the values of everyone. Labor's obviously.
Which one else did you said? The exemptions?
Exemptions, and then 1009, which is promotions.
So the number of exemptions, right?
The number of exemptions.
Okay, and then the promotion.
And the language with respect to promotions, yes.
And basically, just for those of us who are not experienced labor negotiators, the exemptions is the management level people that can be hired outside of the civil service process. And then on the promotions, it is if you have someone, it sounds like you're asking to open up hiring for some specialized positions where the city might not have lots of people who meet that qualification already working.
And that's the examination provision. I know it's tricky.
Just different than that. Please correct me, because that's...
So let me just walk through those three, because those are some of the key areas. Exemptions are folks who are exempt from the civil service hiring process. It means they essentially operate like at-will employees, which means that they can be brought on without a civil service process, and they can be relieved from their duties without the traditional civil service process. It's not just management. The way it's framed in the charter is it's management, professional, scientific, and expert services. That's when we allow exempt. So it's when you're looking for somebody who has specialized knowledge, specialized skills, expert skills to bring in to do something that is not typically developed or only developed within the city workforce. So those exemptions are tied to not people, but to positions. And so if there's someone who is in an exempt position and that person leaves, then depending on which position exempts them, we may have to request a new exemption. So that's exemptions. The examination provision, I didn't say that we have substantial disconnect, because I think that there's some possibility, as what you see in our proposal, is we're identifying or requesting a carve-out in the civil service rules, which says these people require specific licenses. Like, there's certain classifications that require licenses. Let's just say like nurses or advanced practice providers. They have to have a license to do that job by, I think it's by the state. There's a different process for ensuring that they're qualified. Those qualifications are in our bulletin. What we're just looking for is the opportunity to not have to examine them separately from just determining whether or not they qualify for the position when there's not a whole lot of them. We have a hard time bringing on advanced practice providers. So we want to be able to expedite that process so they don't go try to get hired somewhere else when there's not that many of them and the state has decided that they are skilled and qualified enough to perform that work. We would just like to provide that list to the department in order for the department to do their interviews and decide who on this list do we want to pick up.
And right now, you have that person, you say, take the test and get in line with everybody else?
Yeah.
Okay.
So with respect to promotions, it's a separate piece.
The promotion is where you're far apart right now. That's you mentioned the two
Those
pretty
are the
far
two
apart. You said exemptions and promotions.
I think that's where we have the most difficulty finding alignment.
Sorry, just want to clarify. And the promotions was the issue?
I'm sorry?
Can you describe where the challenge is with promotion?
So I can describe what it is that we're trying to do, which is provide a pathway for mid-career hires, a potential pathway for mid-career hires from outside of the city who have, skills or expertise, or sometimes within the city, to be able to be considered for positions that are also considered promotional positions. It's opening up a pathway by combining lists, but not all lists will be combined. Not all promotions will require that employees compete against outside candidates. In fact, most of the exams would not change. We're just adding an opportunity where we have open and promotional exams, which is about 25% of our exams.
I have more questions, Mr. Chair, but it's up to you.
So I have a recommendation for the committee, and I will see how we feel about it. So for these recommendations where we feel like there's substantial agreement, that we forward those to the council with a recommendation, and the ones the promotions and the exemptions, we forward those to council with no recommendation pending the discussion between the ongoing discussions between the management and the bargaining units.
Mr. Chair, can I maybe propose something that I don't know where the rest of my colleagues are on this committee, but I think the ones where we are farther apart. Sorry. Can I just ask a couple more questions, just so I
Go ahead, do your thing.
So, in the exemption, in your rationale regarding key proposals, I'm so sorry, colleagues. It was said exemptions, the current city charter rule. Can you just? I really don't. I don't know the number. I know that we have a certain number of exempt positions, but is the 150 a hard cap, or does that exclude general managers and AGMs?
It excludes, there's, in the last best and final, we did list all of the ones that currently exist. That's in 1001A. Those are the ones that are hard exemptions that are just by virtue of being in that role, you're in an exempt. So like general managers, 2 assistant general managers, all deputy chiefs of police, everyone works in council offices.
Do those count to the 150?
They do not.
Okay.
They do
That's
not.
what I'm trying to get to.
Yes.
So we have 150
Yes.
cap plus additional general managers and AGMs. What is that actual number, like currently?
So if you're looking at all of that, and that includes all positions in council, all positions in the mayor's office, all positions in the city attorney's office. Let me pull that up. It's approximately 2,400.
2,400, oh, okay. And your last best and final would take it to what?
It would increase that number by approximately, hold on. It would essentially increase that number by approximately, I think it's 121. Let me confirm that, but it's in that ballpark.
And just curious, why LAWA get 50 compared to other ones? I guess why is that one so much larger? It feels disproportionately larger compared to how many employees LAWA has.
Yeah, it's just discussions with the general managers. I wanted to ensure that they had a say in moving their vision forward for how they want to proceed with hiring and the type of expertise that they want to bring in. The general manager of the airports has a vision that I'm sure he may have presented to this body related to hiring certain types of experts to make the airport a different kind of operational organization and to provide a different and enhanced visitor experience, which is sort of a unique position in the city because their revenue often is tied to how they're perceived in the public and who wants to fly to LAX, who wants to fly out of LAX, and what the guest experience is there. And so I'm not the best person to articulate the airport's vision there, but that's essentially what it is. And so what management there is looking for is greater flexibility to bring in experts.
Got it. Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair.
All right, so I have a recommendation that we adopt the items except for exemptions and promotions, and send that to the full council. And then the remaining items we'll send to the council without recommendation pending further conversation between management and labor. If there's a second by Councilmember Yaroslavsky, any discussion on that? All right, Madam Clerk, let's call the roll.
Councilmember Harris Dawson?
Yes.
Councilmember Lee? Aye. Councilmember Rahman?
Yes.
Councilmember Soto Martinez?
No.
Councilmember Yaroslavsky?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, where did Mr. Wickham? These items from the Black Workers Center, we have a number of them that can be done without charter, that can be done by ordinance. So we have some of them that can be done without going to the charter and that don't require meet and confer. So we'll note and file those and try to get those taken up in the Personnel Committee. Then we have ones that are require meet and confer. And I'm sorry, Director Billups, I forgot what we said about the meet and confer items from Black Workers Center. Okay, and you're going to work out something with them to start that process? Okay, all right. So, we're dealing with the balance of the Black Workers Center items that you went over with us.
Yes.
Some of them do not require charter action or meet and confer. So we'll note and file those and deal with those in the appropriate place. The others that require meet and confer, I just want to make sure there's a clear, that everybody knows what's going to happen going forward regarding those items. Because we won't send those to full council because the meet and confer hasn't happened yet.
So the item that I believe requires meet and confer is their proposal related to modernizing hiring and testing, which is changing the rules related to 1001. They have 1004 and 1000, but I think the crux of what they're looking at is being able to be more flexible with how we conduct our examinations.
Test and assess, yeah.
And test and assess. And so to the extent that we're changing things, that would require meet and confer. I think some of the changes we're already bargaining will be helpful or will be of interest to the LA Black Workers Center. But I also think that to the extent that we are just providing insight to them on how we do our exams and getting their feedback on whether or not we're really hitting the mark with respect to assessing for adverse impacts. I don't think that necessarily requires meet and confer because it's really an operational impact, and we'll work with them on those.
So yeah, so I think I just want to express that to the public, but to you as well. I think this council is supportive of a modernized assessment process. You know, there's always the story of the person who teaches swimming at the park can't get a job with Rec and Parks because they don't do well on the test, right? So there's a million of those cases that call for a modernized system, and now we have technology that lets us do that. And so we will not take these items to full council for votes because it seems like they're not appropriate for that, but they are appropriate for other action. So we'll be confident that that's moving ahead. All right? All right, Mr. Wickham, I think that takes us to signatures.
Yes, rules number 5.
So this was we requested a change to the requirements for signature gathering to align the amount of signatures you need for repealing or asserting a policy, but to make the calendars consistent with our process here on council. No, yes, maybe?
That sounds like a summary of the conversation.
Okay, and so do we have language that does that, that accomplishes that?
Mr. President, Harit Trivedi from the City Attorney's Office. We had submitted, as requested by the Rules Committee, on Friday a report this morning to Council describing the proposal, and I think the additional the suggestion by the Rules Committee to align not just the number of signatures required for both petitions, meaning for referendums and initiatives, which is Rules Recommendation 5, but the additional question of whether the time period for collecting signatures should also be the same. And we wanted to point it out, we tried to point out at the committee meeting on Friday, but then supplemented that with a report this morning to explain that if you do want to lengthen the time for referendum petition signatures to be collected to be the same as the 120 days that you have for initiative petitions, you would also have to delay the effective date of ordinances to 120 days, because you have to have time for the referendum process to complete itself and elapse before an ordinance can go into effect.
Right, and so why don't we make the signature gathering amount the same, but leave the timeline the way it was? Because the truth is, as soon as they pull papers, the clock stops anyway. So, I mean, that's effectively already the rule.
Yes. And that was rules recommendation 5.
So our goal is to make it so you need as many signatures to take something away as you need to add something. All right?
Got it.
And
So what would that mean if you pulled papers to put a referendum forward? So what would that mean?
So under rules recommendation 5, if you're seeking to referendize an ordinance, you have 30 days after that ordinance is published to collect roughly 139,000 signatures is the proposal here, which is the same number of signatures required to qualify an initiative petition for a new ordinance that you want the council to adopt. That's the recommendation, I understand, is before the instruction from the committee.
And how does that change the timing?
It does not change the timing. The timing is the same as it is in the charter right now, which is what I'm understanding the recommendation is, which is you have 30 days after an ordinance is published to collect those signatures. That timing remains the same.
Is that what you?
Mr. Soto Martinez.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. I feel like I'm getting PTSD from this one, from what we just experienced. I just want to point out something that, sorry, I have a question. How long has this language existed in the charter? It's more than 10
It's
years.
more than 25 years,
Okay.
more than 50 years old.
So this number used to be very low because mayoral elections used to happen on odd years and turnout was very low, correct?
It was definitely lower than it is now.
Okay,
Yep.
and since 2020, I don't know, where's my math? So it's the last mayoral election.
2020, we changed.
So 2020 we changed, but we didn't have a mayoral election until 4 years ago, and that number shot up, right? For initiatives and referendums. Do you remember what the old number was?
I don't have it off the top of my head.
Okay, but it was probably a fourth of what it is now, because mayoral elections used to have like 20%, 15% voter turnout, and now they're like in the 60s or something like that. So just by lining up to federal elections, it's already increased tremendously the number of signatures that are needed to do both, right?
It's more than it was before we aligned our elections, correct?
So to me, really, the question is, do we want to make it easier for referendums or more difficult? I think that's really the question. And I am of the opinion that we should make it more difficult. And so we can make that more difficult by either shortening the time or increasing the number of signatures that we can collect. And is there any way to shorten the time, or does it have to be 30 days?
30 days is the minimum amount of time, considering the effective date of ordinances. The proposal here is to increase the signature requirement from 10% of the votes cast for the last mayoral election to 15% to make it the same as initiatives. That's the proposal here.
So for referendums, I am in agreement with you, Mr. Chair, of making it 15% instead of 10%, because I think when this body creates an ordinance signed by the mayor, it should be very difficult for any entity to say, hey, let's try to stop it, which happened recently. So, but regarding initiatives, that's where I kind of maybe have a little disagreement. I think making that easier is usually good. But are we restricted anyway by doing the initiatives are different?
We're not restricted. The charter can be changed in that regard too. However, I will note for initiatives, aside from having a longer period of time to collect those signatures, 120 days to collect those signatures, an initiative can be launched at any time by the proponents. They have the timing of the initiative is to their choosing. So it's a lot more under their control than a referendum proponent who has to react to an ordinance being adopted.
And so we can, so I like the consistency, 15-15, I think that makes a lot of sense, but we could change the amount of time someone has for initiatives to 160 days?
We could.
Okay. I'm sort of thinking on the fly. I'm not going to recommend anything. I just wanted to get those questions. But maybe I'll surprise you on Wednesday. But I just wanted to get that out. Thank you so much.
Councilmember Rahman.
I just had one question. What is the reason why there's a lower threshold for the 10% versus the 15%?
I'm not aware of what the policy reason initially was, why it's set at a different level. I will note that state law for general law cities has the threshold the same for initiatives and referendums. The state constitution has the same for initiatives and referendums for state statutes. Some charter cities have different levels for initiatives versus referendums.
All right, so without objection, we'll move that item.
Well, I'm voting no on it.
Are you going to vote no? All right, let's call the roll on this item.
Yes, and I'm sorry, what is the recommendation on this item?
The recommendation that we align the signature gathering requirement.
Percentage.
So that would be to approve the recommendation that's in the CLA report.
Can you give the CLA sound, please?
That would be to move forward on the recommendation in the CLA report to place this measure on the November 26th ballot.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Councilmember Harris Dawson?
Yes.
Councilmember Lee?
Aye.
Councilmember Rahman?
No.
Councilmember Soto Martinez?
Yes.
Councilmember Yaroslavsky?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Where does that leave us, Mr. Wickham?
So there was one item that Ms. Yaroslavsky asked us to follow up on, which is 104A, and why that's in the charter. What we've been scrambling and trying to piece that all together. What it basically says is the city cannot mortgage its property. It turns out that that's an element of state law as well. State law says that a city cannot mortgage its property unless it has the approval of 2/3 of the voters. So the state law is very restrictive. Our charter says we can't mortgage any property at all, so we're not even going to put that question to the voters. So we don't exactly, we know that's been in the charter since 1925 at least. We don't have a clear explanation of why it is in the charter at this point, but it's likely that it's not necessary to be in the charter at this point, considering how high the threshold is in state law. So we can't give you a definitive answer of whether it should or should not be in the charter, but it appears that it does not necessarily need to be there.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
We tried.
Okay, so we'll let that lie. Okay, thank you.
Is it possible to have the charter just defer to state law without explicitly saying that we can't, so in case state law were to change? And the reason I raise this is because as we look to set up an economic development corporation, you may want to have different ways of financing projects like other cities around the country can do. And so if we're silent on it in the charter, state law would carry unless state law changed, in which case we wouldn't have to do a charter amendment to then change our charter. Does that make sense?
I think if we removed this from the charter altogether, then the state law applies. This actually is in the state constitution, not in state law, so it's a
Okay.
higher threshold at the state law.
Okay, never mind. I mean, I would say we'd still take it out, because if it doesn't need to be in the charter, why would we have it in the charter? It's in our state constitution, in the off chance that we're capable of amending the state constitution. I don't know that we need to, but I guess it's fine.
Okay, so we'll let it lie for now.
Come on. Let it be known.
I just wanted to echo what Mr. Wickham said, which is currently it's permissible under the state constitution with a 2/3 vote of the public for each individual mortgage. You'd take that idea or that measure to the voters, whether or not to mortgage XYZ property the city owns. Right now, it's not permissible at all, even if the voters wanted to agree with it. So to remove this provision,
So if we took out the language, it would give us the flexibility, should we choose, and then we could go to the voters. So if there's a big enough project that we wanted to go to the voters on, where it made sense, we could do it if we took out the language. I'm not saying that we should, I'm just trying to understand.
That's kind of the direction it goes in, but what that means is we're taking property we currently own and mortgaging it in order to fund that project. We probably have other funding tools available to us. It would be preferable to a mortgage at
But
this
why
point.
wouldn't we just take it out? Along the lines of, why have stuff in there that constrains us if we don't need it in there? We're already constrained by the state constitution.
Yeah.
Of course, we have options, but taking out a mortgage on a piece of a parcel to fund a project on the rest of a parcel could be one way we chose to do something. I don't know. I just don't know why we continue to have stuff in there that we don't need to have in there.
Agreed.
But that's just me.
Okay. So consistent with, I mean, so we can take this out or.
I'd like to just strike it. We're still not going to be able to do it, but
Yes.
why have stuff in there that we don't need to have in there?
Okay.
It's unlikely
So-
that we'll ever use it. But.
Yeah, it's been moved that we strike that language.
Okay.
It looks like there's no objection to that, so.
Thank you.
We'll include that
So-
in the recommendation to the council. Thank you, Mr. Dundas. All right, where does that leave us? I believe we have individual council motions, some of which have been taken care of by the actions that we've taken Friday and today. Others require more studies, and others maybe note and file, but you can walk us through that.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Just for clarity purposes, I'll be saying the item numbers and the proposed recommendations as for the public record. So for item number 2, the action from Friday's meeting was to include this recommendation with CRC 6. This is related to the Neighborhood Appeals Commission and the geographic representation. For item number 3, the action was for a report back on this item, to approve the motion for a report back on this item. For item number 4, the recommendation was to note and file this. For item number 5, the action for this was to continue this motion with the intention to refer to the ad hoc committee on charter review. For item number 6, this was to note and file. For item number 7, the recommendation for this was to continue the motion for the ad hoc on charter review. For item number 8, this was to note and file as it's incorporated into CRC 4, which asks for a phased approach. For item number 9, the recommendation was to concur with the CLA to report back with actions we can take outside of the charter. For item number 10, it was to approve the motion for a report back. For item number 11, it was to approve the motion for a report back. For item number 12, it was to continue with this motion with the intention to refer to the ad hoc committee on charter review. For item number 14, it was to approve the motion for a report back. For item number 15, it was to continue this motion with the intention to refer to the ad hoc committee on charter review. For item number 16, the recommendation for this was to continue and refer this to the ad hoc committee for charter review. For item number 18, the recommendation is to continue this motion for ad hoc on charter review. For item number 19, the recommendation is to continue this motion with the intention to refer to the ad hoc committee on charter review. For item number 21, the intention for this was to continue this motion and refer this to the ad hoc committee on charter review. And I believe there were several other motions that were not referred to in the CLA's report that also have recommendations that were proposed by the chair. So it would be item number 17, which is a charter amendment to implement a workforce impact report framework, and the recommendation is continue this with the intention to refer to the ad hoc committee on charter review. For item number 20, as it relates to the sign hire supplemental retirement credit program, the action is to continue this motion with the intention to refer to the ad hoc committee on charter review. For item number 22, as it relates to a charter amendment to expand the role of the OPA, or the Office of Public Accountability, the action is to continue this item with the intention to refer to the ad hoc committee on charter review. For item number 23, which is related to a charter amendment to allow the city council to remove general managers, this is referred to the ad hoc committee on charter review and is continued. For item number 24, this is related to a charter amendment to create an oversight role for the council of the mayor's executive directives. The recommendation for this is to continue this item with the intention to refer to the ad hoc committee on charter review. And there's one more item that I believe I missed, which is item number 13 as it relates to non-citizen voting. And the recommendation is to present to voters in November 2026 a charter amendment consistent with the language in the motion and to add language for when state law changes.
Can you expound on
This
that
is for the non-citizen voting motion on item number 13.
Okay.
The recommendation is to present to the voters in November 2026 a charter amendment consistent with the language that is outlined in the motion and adding language for when state law changes in order to effectuate this change.
Mr. Soto Martinez.
Yeah, I don't think we need to do state law changes. I think our staff was looking at this a little bit, and I believe we'd have I don't know if Harid can come up and sort of clarify a little bit.
Yeah, Harith Trivedi again from the City Attorney's Office. Currently the state constitution provides that anyone over 18 who's a citizen of the United States may vote, but court cases have ruled that charter cities can expand the electorate and have the charter authority to expand the electorate beyond that to anyone who's residing in the city or however the city defines residency and status, and to youth voting also. So the Constitution would not need to be changed. The state constitution would not be changed. There's authority in the Constitution for charter cities to do this. There is a pending case in federal court in the District of Columbia challenging non-citizen voting under the U.S. Constitution. There's no substantive ruling in that case yet. But as a matter of our state constitution and state law, a charter city can expand the electorate, as has been done by other charter cities.
Yeah. So my understanding is that the state law essentially creates a floor of who is eligible, not a ceiling, right?
That's right. That's what the state constitution has been interpreted by the courts as saying.
Yeah. So I guess for purposes of moving this forward, I would agree with the first half of that, but any references to state law, I think we don't need to move forward to council because it's really irrelevant.
And can you review Steve's having a conversation. The substance of the first half?
The first half of the recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
It was to present this to the voters in November 2026, a charter amendment consistent with language in this motion.
Yeah, and the motion is written, colleagues. It doesn't say that we'll do it now. That it simply allows City Council the ability to do it in the future. In working on this motion, I recognize there's a lot of questions still out there, right? Who's eligible? What is a resident? What proof do we have? Privacy issues, things like that. I get that, which is why the motion was written not to move full steam ahead, but rather allow us to have that thoughtful conversation and process. And as Harid just said, nothing prohibits us from doing it. So should we pass this to council and hopefully our 10 other, well, hopefully everyone agree with at least 8 votes. But then the voters will make that if it gets on the November ballot, voters will decide, should I grant City Council the ability to do this in the future? And then that we'll have a discourse, and probably new motions will be introduced, studies and things like that, which I look forward to getting that far on this issue.
Councilmember Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to be upfront. I'm opposed to both of these, the non-citizen voting and the lower voting age. For people who support this, I would hope that I would recommend that you present this to the voters for codification of the charter rather than empowering council to then give us the ability to make changes on the fly depending on what election or how it helps someone. This is rife with problems just to give us broad authority to unilaterally change fundamental election rules at any time for any reason, including voting eligibility, the use of separate ballots, vote counting processes. With everything going on right now and the credibility of our election process, this further jeopardizes that credibility. And, as someone who, was opposed by the majority of this council when I ran, I would have found changes to election laws by ordinance, however well-intentioned, hard to accept. And committee members, this is something that putting that as an ordinance, I think this is something that if people want this, then give it to the voters of California to vote on. But doing it this way, you know, we're going to have an entirely new council in 12 years. I would caution against council giving sweeping authority over major changes to election laws by ordinance.
Thank you, Mr. Lee and Mr. Soto Martinez. I think you. Let me just preface this by saying I'm strongly in favor of voter eligibility reform. You know, the idea that someone gets a part in a movie and they get an apartment here, they can vote, and their next door neighbor who's been a nurse for 30 years can't. I just think that's fundamentally unjust and not democracy at all. Having said that, I do think who gets to vote and who doesn't is a weighty measure. So I am. Mr. Lee's comments do give me pause, especially the notion that we could do it over and over and over again. So every election cycle, you pick what set of voters you want, right? That's a scenario that could happen, which I have frankly had not thought of before Mr. Lee gave his testimony. So I just he presents tough issues for me, and I'll just leave it at that. Councilmember Rahman.
I had a question about the how the charter reform recommendations will be presented to voters. Will all of these recommendations be presented to voters as one package, or will it be multiple rules that people are voting on?
It's been my understanding that charter reform will be one package. So I mean, again, I'm not asserting that as a policy directive, but that's been my understanding up until now.
It's up to the council's discretion as to how they would want to package these measures moving forward. You can direct the city attorney or request the city attorney to package it based on certain themes like we did in 2024. It's totally up to you.
So, so the city attorney, so what we theoretically would do on Wednesday is ask the city attorney to prepare a ballot initiative. At that time, is that when we have to decide whether it's multiple, 1 or 4, or can we do that later?
Our office would need some direction as to how you want to group the various changes that the council is asking to put to the voters, as was done a couple years ago when we had several dozen changes to the charter. You provided some direction, and then we worked with CLA and staff and then brought back the different ballot measures that grouped several different changes together by subject for your consideration.
Councilmember Yaroslavsky?
I don't know if Councilwoman
I just
Ramos
had one
done.
other question, which is, are there ways to mitigate the concerns that Mr. Lee brought up about tampering, the potential for tampering with the voting base?
We would have changed the vote. He's right. We would have changed the voters when he was running. Council would have done that.
You knew what happened.
Can I just follow up on Councilwoman Rahman's? I think the potential for this particular issue engendering strong feelings on both sides, I think, is pretty significant. I would hope that we could, I worry about poison pills, and I worry that this could be a thing that gets a lot of noise, and it will rise to being the thing that people talk about in the package, whether it's the press or otherwise. And so if there's an opportunity for us to sort of have it in a subset of reforms rather than as part of a big package, I would say breaking it out might result in the likelihood of at least some of this passing.
Yeah.
And this might pass, but I think it will be
I'm in
strong.
agreement with that, and I think that solution takes care of a part of what Mr. Lee is saying. It doesn't take care of all of it, because if council has power to impact elections, we've demonstrated that we will do that. That is in large part what the recordings were about. Mr. Soto Martinez?
I'm just throwing this on the fly. Have we ever passed some sort of charter reform that says council may have the authority to do this, blah, 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 but no later than, or have like a sunset where we have to act before like 2028 or 2030 or something like that? So therefore, it addresses some of the concerns that Mr. Lee had about us being able to do this over and over.
Sitting here now, I can't think of any.
Just, are we prohibited from doing that? Like putting in front of the voters saying, hey, like, give council the ability to do this, but it has to be before a certain date. Otherwise, it's no.
No, I can't think of a reason why you couldn't do that, but we have not. I've not seen that in our city.
I mean, if that's one of the concerns, we can. I'm not going to bargain against myself, but you know, if some of the folks want to say that, that's fine. It'll give us 4 years or 5 years to do it, and if we can't get it done, that means that we couldn't get it done in this body. I think that's more than enough time. I haven't seen, as far as I've been here, some policies take 2-3 years, but a lot of them, Council President, yours took 5, 6, so maybe somewhere around that age, number we can consider.
Yeah, I mean, we need to do some more work on this, because I think a couple things. I think, one, we could also fold it into the looking at the charter every 10 years, so saying that there was one shot every so often at looking at voter eligibility might make sense as well, because one of the things we want to do here is have an automatic trigger that we look at the charter every 10 years no matter what. And the council could decide there's nothing to do, but that's also an opportunity, and we could tie this to that, but I'm just literally making that up on the spot, so I don't trust it at all. How do we do this? So let's move this forward without recommendation, and then hopefully we can get some time to figure out something that makes sense. And then additionally, I'll ask the city attorney's office, it would be great if this could be done by Wednesday. If there could just be a couple recommendations on how we might group things and make them into items, sort of how you all might normally look at these.
How to group the different changes.
So that when it comes to council, that question is kind of answered, or at least we have some options.
Yeah, we can take a shot at that, although I will say for the significant changes that may be controversial, we'd really need direction from the council as to where to put.
That's fine. And we can provide that, but just a lot of this is administrative and insider baseball, we'll say. All right, so I believe that concludes our items for today. Madam Clerk, are there any votes that we need to take or any other business we need to do?
Yes, there are some of these motions that that need to be voted on. You can do them as, it's basically as the CLA read through each one and what the recommendation is. If there are no changes to that,
So I think we were fine on all the recommendations except for the non-citizen voting. And that one we would just forward without a recommendation.
And
Is
I'm
the
sorry,
solution
that
I'm
one?
proposing. I'm proposing that we forward that one without a recommendation.
no recommendation for item number 13 on the agenda. Okay,
And then the rest of them, I think we're prepared to concur with the CLA.
okay.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, is that with the 16 voting as well? The
16?
Yeah, CRC 23. Does that include that?
I believe that was noted in file. 16, I think, was noted in file.
Yeah, we noted and filed that one, yeah.
For item number 16 on the agenda, correct?
Yeah, we note and file.
You would like to change that to note and file?
No, not item 16.
It is note and file.
CRC,
He's talking about CRC 16. I'm
CRC
sorry.
16.
CRC 20, what was that?
23.
23. So CRC 23.
22.
Which I believe we dealt with yesterday.
Note and file?
So, do you confirm?
The CLA's recommended disposition on the lowering the voting age is further study is required. But if the committee would
So
like
we
to
want to
know-
note and file that, and then we did CRC 23. Okay, got it. Okay.
So note and file CRC 23. Okay.
We noted and filed it Friday. All right, all right. So we need a vote on those recommendation minus Or can we vote with it all together with the change to the CLA's recommendation on,
CRC 23?
yeah, the citizen, non-citizen voting?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Councilmember Harris Dawson?
Yes.
Councilmember Lee?
No?
Councilmember Rahman?
Yes.
Councilmember Soto Martinez?
Yes.
Councilmember Yaroslavsky?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, can you confirm that clears the desk?
That clears the desk, Mr. Chair.
All right, we're adjourned.